Today, I sit down with the Trickster Cabal, a group of 3 devoted and well-known Trickster mains in the community, in a new series where I will be sitting down with the mains of every killer to try and break down their killers as objectively as possible. If you'd like to check out or go follow any of these wonderful people in the video today, their information is in the description box below. I highly recommend you go click on it and join some of these communities. They are doing amazing things, and you'll probably see me over there. Today's experience is mostly auditory, so feel free to slam it on in the background and just listen to it the same you would a podcast. And with that being said, I will see you on the other side. So first I want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me and going through and being willing to do this. I'm very excited to break down these killers. I think it'd be good to kind of go over what I built it for and kind of the idea behind it. I think I've already told you guys, but I know what you guys are streaming, so maybe it's good for everybody to hear. Pretty much, I keep seeing tier lists that are extremely subjective, and that's not anybody's fault. It's just really hard to break down these killers and get a really objective view of how they work. And when people don't play every killer to the degree that, diehard mains do, there's a lot of misinformation as well. So I wanted to get rid of the subjectivity and the misinformation and just try to get the most objective as possible breakdown of every killer, so we can kind of really see how things break down. One for future reference for other creators if they want to look at it, use it, taking that information. Maybe even new players can use it to find new mains they want to play and pick and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of the goal.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited.
I love doing collab content, so it's always a pleasure to get together with everybody.
Definitely, 100%. So I think you guys are the mains. You are the ones that kind of know everything. So I will pose the questions. I'll try to give frame of reference for what the questions really are asking.
All right.
And if there's some gray area, I'll kind of try to work through that with you guys. But I'll leave most of the discussion up to you, and you guys discuss where things kind of fall. And since this is the first one, there might be some situations where maybe I did forget something, or you guys think of something that might need to be added. And so we can adjust the sheet as we go too, so it'll be cool.
Alrighty.
All right.
Did we introduce ourselves?
Oh, go on. Yes, please. Go for it. We'll start with Rev.
Okay. I'm Rev. I'm a Trickster main of 6.9k hours. I've been playing this game since the Pig chapter. I've kind of devoted most of my time since Trickster has come out to Trickster. It took a 9-month break, but besides that 9-month break, I've been playing DVD pretty much the whole time. I just play a ton of this game.
How many did you? I'm sorry. Did you mention your hours in there as well?
Yeah, I've played 6.9k hours of DBD, and I've been a Trickster main for most of those hours. But I think if I had to guesstimate, the amount of hours I have on Trickster is probably 3k or something. But I don't really have a specific number.
And then just whoever wants to go next.
Not it.
Okay. Or Zozo maybe.
No, I said not it.
Oh, okay. My name is NJ. I started playing DBD around 2021. I think August-ish. How do I say? I'm a Trickster main, just like Rev and Zozo. The original writer of the Google Doc that was covered by many content creators after the rework has happened. And how do I say? My mission as a Trickster player was to unify Trickster mains, to come up maybe with some interesting builds, playstyles, and possibly educate the community regarding how Trickster should be perceived or counterplayed. And of course, also the inventor of the shoes meme. Yeah, that's it for me.
Perfect. And then you, Zozo.
Hello. I've just been playing this game a long time. I've never been a notable person other than when Trickster got reworked. I made a bunch of angry tweets. I told Rev no one cares about his opinion. I called NJ probably stupid on Twitter. And then I made a Trickster YouTube video just to like rant for Pixel Bush, and then I made it, or I re-uploaded it on my own channel, and now I am somehow miraculously notable. I just play Trickster a lot. I like him. I still like him after the rework, even though he's kind of mid.
It's crazy how much our opinions of each other change after we don't see each other in text and see each other in voice instead.
Yeah, I'm not a nice person over text. I don't like strangers. I don't like attention. But when I was able to just sit down and talk to myself and speak into the void, I was able to draw more of a connection with people and get my words out properly, which was nice.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy what. Oh, go on.
I'm literally just a rando. I don't have that many hours on the game. Like I when I was still working, I played like probably like 3 hours of the game a week. So I only have like 3,000 hours, like 1,000 hours total on Trickster. I'm not a comp player. I'm nothing. Just a Trickster player, relatively knowledgeable on the character, and that's about it.
Well, I would say even like 1,000 hours is probably a lot more time than most people have on their mains, and 3,000 is definitely probably above the average, I'd assume. That'd actually be interesting information. Maybe I'll compile that too as we go through with all the other killers and see how much time people really have. But that seems like a good starting point for us. So again, thank you guys for joining. So we'll go through, it's broken down into 4 different categories. So we have chase, utility, diversity, and consistency. And then inside of each of those, we have different categories. Like, for example, in chase, we have 1v1, and then there will be mind games, anti-loop, and it'll go through. We have quite a few sections. The scale is, we'll give it a 0 if it just does not apply to the killer. For example, like if we were doing nurse, the nurse wouldn't have to do any reload or anything like that. So if that were to come up, they would get a 0 because it doesn't apply. If they're just the same as like a vanilla M1 killer, not really Trapper, but just like a M1 that has real no power, we'll just give it a 1. If it's worse than an M1 killer, like speed, so like Hag would get, a -1 for speed overall. And then we'll give it 2 if they're over average, and then 3 if they're amongst the best in the game. So like map traversal for nurse would be a 3, for example, and maybe for like a spirit, maybe a little bit lower. And that's just kind of the idea. So yeah, you guys ready to get started?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. We'll start with chase. So we got 1v1, and the very first section is their ability to do mind games, primarily at loops. And I'll let you guys discuss what you think where he falls on this scale with mind games.
I think that Trickster, he has quite a bit of mind games. Like, you can like main event moonwalk and kind of fire in the direction that they think that you're coming from. Like, so say you you have main event primed, right? You go around a tile, they drop the pallet, you main event, and act like you're pressuring to go around the tile in like a long wall. Your main event is going in the direction that you're going, right? But then you start backing up. So they vault the pallet that they just dropped the pallet from that side into your side as you're backing up towards them, because they think that you're going around the whole tile, but in reality, you're just using your knives to obfuscate which direction you're going.
Oh, that's sneaky. I don't think I've ever seen a Trickster do that to me. That's interesting.
You'll see a lot. Like, if you ever watch like Vosik134 or NJ or someone with like main event add-ons that is really experienced with Trickster play and is comfortable with using the main event, they will be doing stuff like that.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's mostly based upon, like, how do I say, using like the pallet side as your position of power, and then some loops are kind of like, how do I say, let's say maybe short, or they have like gaps where you can see the Trickster, but like if you use the pallet correctly to pop main event, you might just kind of like a Bubba surprise them with like a moonsaw, and it's so satisfying to do it, in my opinion. But yeah, depending on what add-ons you have, you can use it with the base kit, but you have to be very, very careful not to get like stunned or anything. But yeah, it's pretty much like a Bubba when he's moonsawing.
Interesting. Okay, that actually makes quite a bit of sense.
Like, how do I say? you're supposed to throw knives in the direction where the survivor is gonna think that you're going that way, but also sometimes you have to avoid actually shooting the surface, like the wall that's near the survivor, because it gives them information of where you're hitting the knives.
Yeah,
So
if
it's
they
kind of
know-
like,
if you give them like a tell of which angle you're throwing them from, they can kind of triangulate that you're backing up.
yeah. But also, like, if you like hit a surface, you can kind of like, a knife has the sound effect that where like each surface makes it different. Like, you know, if he's hitting like a rock or a piece of metal or a pallet, like you hear the, I guess, like the hit sounds. So you have to make sure that it's kind of like an aesthetic thing, if that makes sense. You have to like kind of like just perfectly like slide.
It's also not the only mind games we do either. We can do like there's a lot of like hitting through surfaces that can be done, or through like holes in walls.
Yeah.
But it's so much worse now after they switched to 8-knife, because
Yeah, I feel like
you have to
Cufflinks
land-
died with that, basically.
yeah, cufflinks is it got kind of ruined, I think. But there's a
if
lot
it
of
was maybe
small
at
things.
6 knives, sure, but like at 7, oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible. I feel so bad for the changes they've made for him.
I guess another thing that you kind of like mind game with the survivor is the classic, you know, baiting out the pallet, the animation, kind of like Huntress or any other killer that has like either a projectile or something to hit over, or you go like forward with by your knives and go backwards, and they kind of like you bait them out into thinking that, oh, you're not respecting the pallet, and then they come back, they do the vacuum, and then they go down or lose a health state. That's also like something.
Is it? And then as somebody who like played Trickster when he first came out, I really enjoyed him, but I was on console, so I never really stuck with him. Do you ever like pretend you're going to a locker to start a reload just to get them to leave a troublesome loop or anything like that? Is that a possible mind game?
Say as Trickster, any moment where you get the survivor like off guard. So Trickster for me is basically like a Bubba, right? So if you know where the survivor is, and if you hide that red stain for like even a second, a smidge, when you're peeking the corner, that's enough distance for you to get like a couple of free knives into them. So even let's say a reload, I would say in most scenarios it's kind of like to bait them into thinking that they're safe. Like if you're like in a camping situation, or if you have like survivors around you, you have a slug or someone on the hook, I would say in that scenario, a reload could like encourage them to make an aggressive play if you have something planned like a 99 main event or something.
I wouldn't say that
Similar.
any of his main events are like particularly game changing, though. I would say. Like
Oh, no, I'm not saying like
yeah,
main
I'm
event.
saying-
I'm saying like a mind game. It's kind of like
yeah, I'm not
because
disagreeing
they
with you.
asked
I'm
about
saying,
the
I'm just
because they
saying
asked
like
about the locker. Yeah, it can be a mind game. It's just like when are you doing it, and what's like, are you in the position of power, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My whole thing with Trickster's mind games is like if you compare to like a basic M1 killer's mind games where any type of doubling back might result in either the survivor losing a modicum of distance or losing an extra vault on a window that they didn't have to take, so when it gets blocked faster. Pretty much any time you mind game a survivor's Trickster should result in a hit, a knife hit, at least one.
Yes.
So those stack up very quickly, and that makes like Trickster the ultimate. Just like you don't make a single mistake against this killer, because if you just make prolonged, continuous mistakes, you'll just end up inevitably getting injured. Whereas that's very much better than any other killer, where they might successfully mind game like a tile like Shaq or like a God Rock on Macmillan and just get nothing out of it. They just have to force the break. But like a Trickster, you're pretty much always going to get a health state or a couple blade hits, or you're charging main event. So you're pretty much always winning something. And in that aspect, I think his mind games are really above average, and if not above average, like probably the best in the game, just on account of like you always get something out of a successful mind game.
I wanted to add one more thing. Since Trickster does not have like a huge cooldown for when
Yeah.
he uses his ammunition, I would say like baiting like a dead hard
Yeah.
is like such a
Very
mind
easy.
game where like you purposefully just like shoot the floor and the survivor, dabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy, and I kind of see like the main event mind games we were talking about first, like when you just make a survivor mess up and vault into you and you pop main event. That's pretty much like very comparable to just landing an M1, but like with obviously you'll do some lingering damage if it's their first health state, or you'll just down them and perhaps start a snowball if someone else is nearby. Like he just has a lot going for him when you make a successful mind game, which I think is like really core to his design. Yeah. It's like it's not like a fucking most killers where they pretty much get nothing out of a mind game, but like, oh, I broke the pallet slightly closer to the survivor.
Only 20 seconds left. Catch up.
Yeah, as a Chucky main that just has to eat dead hards left and right, I'm very jealous of being able to bait those out. That sounds nice.
Especially old Dead Hard, back when that shit was like most broken shit in the game. You just ignored it.
I know. Ugh.
Yeah,
Old
it was
Dead Hard, let's not remember that.
the worst points I think for even old Dead Hard was like when they dead hearted for distance, because Trickster was so much about and still is pretty much all about distance making and line of sighting. Because if you don't do any of that, you're just dead. Like you can't play
even
tiles.
Back when he was
normally.
110 against the old Dead Hard, it
But
just
Rev,
felt
the
like,
way you said it, the way you said it, it's not distance, it's the efficient distance. So it's like not too far, but it's like just enough. Like, like the, how do I say? Because
It's maximization
if it's too much,
of line of sight. And usually line of sight, like distance, let me phrase it in this way. The more distance you make is the more time you have to utilize a line of sight situation, right?
How do you explain it before I wanted to go back on it? It's kind of like, because like an experienced trickster, if you are basically leading him to like an unwinnable chase, he'll leave you. But it's kind of like teasing them a little bit with the distance, but then at the same time kind of like taking like every corner you can to like increase it just by little, to keep him in the chase. I think before you explained it, it's like the effective distance, not like maximum, but effective distance, like just enough to keep him interested in you.
So like that lethality range kind of thing, where you'll start losing what's the?
You want to keep his attention.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to bait him in to maybe chase you, even if it's like a health state, but like if it's a loop where you're maybe more dominant than, have an advantage, maybe the trickster will get ready to be like, okay, I have one health state, I'll go and get the other one like as quick as the first one. So kind of like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Pulling Trickster away from gens and like away from like grouped up teammates is a very, very smart play that a lot of survivors will make use of.
I think that makes sense. Okay, so we actually covered quite a few sections. So we talked a little bit like about resource denial, which is pallets and windows, and how you guys kind of use that. So I think maybe if we do the whole sections as one, that'll work out pretty well too.
I would say the anti-loop is a little bit different because it's a lot of like zoning-ish. Like something that I try to educate people is, let's say if it's a very unsafe loop for the survivor, right? You're kind of like not fully like either committing to the pallet, you're just holding the pallet position, and when, let's say if the survivor is healthy, you're trying to make sure that if the survivor is going either clockwise or counterclockwise, that last knife that you're taking the health state, that the survivor is basically going for the worst option where to leave the loop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because we have zoning as a whole spot too, because that ends up playing into so many different killers as well, and that's like a whole different part of chase as well. So I could see with Trickster that gets really, you have a lot of options there. Okay.
Because I feel like Rev has also had this experience where like we were reviewing matches of our viewers, and it's like you get put in this like, I don't know, like small or medium-sized loop, and then the Trickster player who doesn't have experience takes the health state, but in a way either eats the pallet or just survivor runs to something safer, instead of like the Trickster player either keeping the survivor where he can't run away anywhere, or he has to run away somewhere where it's worse for the survivor. So it's something that like it takes a lot of experience.
You either trap the
Understand.
survivor in the loop they're in, which might not be the best, or you try and push them somewhere far worse if you can. Like you can definitely trap people like with the threat of the knives because they're just so fast. But I mean, like,
especially if you pop.
Obviously, you have to hit
early.
more, which sucks. But
yeah, like if you pop main event and the survivor like he's either gonna take the knives, or by dodging or crouching, he's basically putting himself in the position where you're getting closer to him.
Yeah.
Sounds like the learning curve a lot of killers make early on, where they have to learn which side to break the pallet on to kind of lead chase in a certain direction. It sounds like that's a similar kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's kind of like
with
it's kind of like pushing them into a corner.
Yep.
Yeah, like if you were to go, let's say like on a map like there is, you're always gonna try to go from the inside and to push them like on the outskirts. So like it's that type of zoning where like you're not following them, but you're just kind of like pushing them into a zone that you prefer, if that makes sense. Up until like they're basically cornered.
Interesting.
Wow.
It's like
But
trapping in the
every
air,
map.
pressuring into those dead zones and trapped areas. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say also maps like.
I'm just giving an example because like
Yeah.
every map variant is different. But to like summarize, like, what's the goal?
Just to catch back up, I'm on anti-loop, right? Or on anti-loop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of just because like how we were talking about mind games to start, it kind of covered a few other sections.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just taking all of 1v1 as a whole. So I'm kind of listening to what you guys are saying. So, for example, it sounds like mind games we're kind of feeling like he's above average, maybe not best in the game, but he has a lot of options. So like there, I'll put it 2.
Yeah, I'd probably put it at 2, because while they are good mind games, they're not all like game breaking, gonna destroy a player instantly.
Yeah,
well,
you
it
don't
doesn't
win,
have
like...
to be though. Like I think just the fact that alone that like you can do so many quick little mind games that just stack up to like you're always earning something in the chase is just very significant and much unlike every other killer in the game. Where if they miss a mind game or fuck up, then they get punished for it. Whereas like Trickster, it's like pretty much always, as long as you're tricking the survivor or making them lose distance, you're hitting them.
True.
And that's not insignificant.
Yeah, I would say also too, just because you can't like outplay most of the god pellets, so it's like something, you know, other killers can. So yeah. I agree.
If
It's
someone
the 2.
like if someone pre-drops like a god pallet on Gideon, your only option in a lot of circumstances is to break that, because if you leave up a god pallet that has a long wall that's attached to it, on Gideon for example, like they're basically cutting that part of the map off for you, or from you.
Yeah, but like you do that against literally like 99 out of 100 killers in the game. Like
I would say if you don't
mind
maybe 2.5.
Yeah, true.
Like the problem with bringing up god pallets in the terms of mind games is you don't mind game god pallets. That's why they're god pallets.
That's true.
You don't.
I mean, but
like,
then there's like a killer like Doctor where like he could basically, you know, sort of like confuse you and make you trapped with his power, with his mind game.
Yeah, so that's why like in resource denial, right? For example, like we brought up god pallets. That's one of my breaking points on like a personal rubric I have here, which is like most killers, you drop a god pallet on the meatpacking plant, you're just gonna have to kick it. But you have Chucky, you have Nurse, to a lesser extent some other characters that can kind of work around it a little bit. Huntress can maybe still get a hit over it, you know, that kind of thing, so they can kind of work past it and deny that resource having value.
Although I will say he has 2 add-ons that sort of, let's say in many scenarios, could basically outplay the god palette, but those add-ons basically change his whole playstyle and identity.
They make him not Trickster at the point, I think.
Yeah, so it's at the 2.5 depending what add-ons you're running.
I personally put
make a
3.
Yeah,
I could too, sure.
I think so.
But it's like, yeah, obviously stuff like god pallets, you're not mind gaming, but like, so nobody else is, to be fair. Like, there's very few killers that are actually mind gaming a god pallet unless the survivor is just, for lack of a better term, terrible.
Okay, so for anti-loop, you guys want to put a 3? Is that where I'm at?
Mind
Anti-loop,
games.
I would put it 2.
Mind games are 3.
Mind games, I'm putting 3.
Mind
Okay.
games 3, anti-loop 2.
Yeah.
Like you should see what's like when he tries to mind game his Trickster. Like it's like a lot of spins, like quick 180s and turns, and it's like, and then boom, the bamboozle window block, and it's like the survivor is dead. So it's like, yeah, Trickster just losing that one bit of like a second of distance. Oof, it's a lot.
Trickster is a Twitch aim movement character.
Yeah, he's very twitchy.
Very flick based. Very.
I think COD players would enjoy a Trickster match.
Yeah.
Perhaps they should get on. They should tap in.
Yeah.
Okay. How about our resource denial? So we talked a little bit about the pallets and god pallets. How well does he work around like most windows and most pallets in the game?
I would say
Or is he
most
gonna
are playable, but they're safest when the survivor hasn't been hit yet. So if you've zoned them into them, like after already hitting them, you can do something about it because you only have to hit them like, 3 more times, which is doable. But like if you're actually trying to play like let's say a shack or like a really strong like jungle gym from 0, it's a lot more difficult and going to be much more of a time waste because you'll just have like so few opportunities to get a hit in. But I mean, it's still better than most killers where they just won't get the hit.
It's kind
To be
of
fair.
different than most killers that you have to think of resources in, because most people you'd think of like pallets and windows, but
Right.
the line of sight isn't as important. But with Trickster, that becomes a new resource. So, like, you're adding a bunch of resources. Yes, you're reducing the effectiveness of windows and pallets in some circumstances, like you already have knives in them, but you're also adding in like an entire third resource, And that makes windows that are near long walls far stronger than a window that's like out in the open, for example.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very hard to gauge compared to other characters, I'd say, because it changes the name of the game. Like you're kind of playing like parkour against Trickster, where you're trying to parkour into situations where he can't shoot you, right? But you're also trying to not to get pinned down in those locations because he's gonna push you out of that location soon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like Trickster's resource denial just comes from like you kind of needing to have like some kind of pressure like before going into it,
Like
or
a
else you
couple
just
knives
don't
into
wanna
them
play
before
it.
they reach the
Yeah,
resource.
otherwise like it's such a time commitment that it's like not worth it, because like people will play
Especially
tiles
now.
without using pallets because there's no reason to. Like it's such a commitment to drop a pallet if you're already like about to be injured that there's no reason to do it.
So it sounds like if the survivor's healthy, he's probably at like a 2 at denying most resources, but if they're already injured, probably a 3 where he can pretty easily get it down. Is that what I'm kind of hearing?
It's very much dependent on how much like damage you've already like done to them. Like if you've taken a health state and they're injured, yeah, you can pretty much go for a longer chase. And especially if they're injured and you've pushed them into that tile when they've already been hit like 3 times, it's like, oh well, I only have to go for like 5 more. That's doable with
if you
blades
like,
equipped.
Yeah, if you watch like many experienced tricksters, you'll see them sometimes even try to kind of like snipe a survivor with a knife or 2 before they reach a tile. But it's mostly kind of like between, as Zozo would say, the danger level is if you have a couple knives into them, but at the same time, when the survivors want to like have distance on you, they want to be as sufficient as possible, so you're kind of like sniping them to either gain distance on them or to gain damage into them. So it's kind of like a trade-off, if that makes sense. So I would say, it's like between 2 and 3.
Yeah, I put it as a 2.5 because that seems like that makes sense. It can be really good, but it's got that pretty strong caveat of it depends on at which point you're taking advantage. So.
Yeah.
How about insta down? Does he benefit a lot from exposed effects? Or are there situations where you can pretty much guarantee a state from full health down to
Yeah.
Main event's crazy.
not only main event, but just like in general, if you have memento blades on and the survivor just has nothing, they're just dead. When you're camping the hook, you can just snipe people as they're coming to the hook, and then once they proc the unhook, they're dead, and their teammate's probably dead.
Yeah, you could just like if someone gets unhooked in your face and you have memento blades and main event, like you just kill the person that gets unhooked like instantly.
And then you proc force Tessie, and then the other survivor has to shitwalk for like 10 seconds, and then you can just down them with main event as well, or just wait for the M1. Like,
Yeah, I would say like if I guess unhook scenarios mostly, because usually the survivors are trying to like run away.
Yeah.
So when you say insta-down, so it's like how like fast he can down, or do you mean like
Pretty much how often in a 1v1 like just a looping scenario, because we do have kill confirms and hook camping as a section. Just in a 1v1 scenario, I mean that was important information because we'll go back to it, so it gives me a good frame of reference.
Oh, 1v1.
But in a chase, yeah, in a 1v1
I
scenario,
would say you would need to either the survivor prior, you need to down with an M1 to pocket your main event, or
it's like Myers.
Say, yeah.
So how often does that actually happen? Like in a
depending on the playstyle of the Trickster. If it's your regular Trickster player, like most likely never, because I feel like they use main event immediately. But if it's someone who's experienced as a Trickster player, depending on if, let's say, they use a certain add-on like Edge of Revival, they could do 2 shots at the floor, do 7 on the survivor. Main event is 99, and then you have 1. Or just basically, even if you proc the timer, just M1 the injured survivor, and then whoever's next is gonna get main event shredded and downed.
So it sounds like he does have options, but it doesn't sound like they come up too often or that easily.
You have options, especially
he requires
if the
a lot of
survivor's
planning.
experienced.
Yeah, he requires a lot of planning.
If the survivor misplays, they get insta-down against blades like every time, just by like pressing control or just holding M1. They'll just go down because they don't know what to do, and like that's definitely like very good to have, because if you can't deal with inexperienced players, just constantly making mistakes, then your killer probably isn't very strong, to be honest. But Trickster can, and like against better players, you're gonna be doing more of that like main event pocketing and trying to like just cheese people by just having main event like either 99 or like 50%, just hit someone with like 4 blades and then down them from full health with main event.
You guys see you using that strategy often per like is that happening like
every
once
game.
or every game?
I personally don't, because I slug every game.
That might be.
I guess depends on my mood and like the type of survivors I get.
Yeah,
but
like
I would say mostly depends on the tile, the survivors, and the add-ons that I'm running. So I would say maybe, let's say every game it could happen once or twice.
Yeah, it's
best.
Like it's very few and far between that you can hit this on a good player if the whole team is competent, because they're going to pre-run and like get to a tile that's pretty secure against main event if they know what they're doing. But
like I mean, good players still will get shit on by main event just because
absolutely. They never know, basically, because they don't know if it ran out, like the timer, or like how does it work.
Yeah,
because I will tell you, like sometimes maybe, let's say for example, even though this is kind of like a misplay, if your like laceration decays, and even though like I don't know, that survivor goes from 7 knives to 6, you hit 1 more, you're in main event, and you never downed anyone or injured, but you have main event. It's just people don't know.
I'd compare it very similar to like Myers' frequency of how often he gets insta down.
Yeah, kind of like you're combined. Like Trickster is, I don't know, like a combination of many killers, but it's so hard to explain it.
Yeah, it's like Myers, but Myers gets vault speed, and Trickster gets like extra range beyond the window. It's like It's like the same design, but like in terms of like practical like numerical, like how often you are going to pop someone. I wouldn't say like in application it works out that way, but in terms of like how often main event effectively results in like a full health to dead.
Right.
Yeah, and just in general, people have to fear Trickster because, you know, he can insta-down, like, just by nature of holding M1 very fast is scary at a range. People have to be scared of that. So the fact that, like, he does, he has extremely above average, like, insta-down potential, just, like, not the best in the game, obviously, the bully.
Okay, so it sounds like, bully. Okay, yeah, it's kind of
just
what
the fact that the option exists and it has counterplay and is built into his design, and like the fact that people have to fear you because of how fast you can down from injured to healthy, or from healthy to injured to down.
His downing pressure is also a lot more fluid. Like, he's not exactly an insta down in the traditional sense, but because he doesn't have a hit cooldown, you can lead one health state into another far more efficient than a lot of killers can.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would just say one thing is, even though it says like they're like different sections, with Trickster everything is synchronized. Like mind games, interloop, bracers, and now insta down, distance, like all of that is like taken in together. So like they're dependent on one another. So even though like one thing might be lower than the other or higher, like in a game, all of those things you're taking into account when you're expressing your like how do you want to play that game as Trickster, like what's your play style. So
that makes perfect sense. Because like it's even making this list was kind of hard. Rev actually was somebody that helped me a lot putting it together, and even just trying to break it down, something that's like so kind of fluid, and there's so many different aspects that can kind of pop up and meld together.
There's
like
a lot of
mind games
subjectivity here regardless of the objective.
Yeah, there's no way like there's no way I'll ever get to the point of it being fully objective. And even here, like, mind games is such a weird one where like that's gonna mix into anti-loop and even your 4v1, right? Like Freddy, for example, right, can like pretend to teleport to a gent just to get somebody off the gent for a minute, maybe proc like dead man switch or something. There's a lot of areas, so that makes that makes a lot of sense.
Like if this was old Trickster, for example, I'd put insta down at a 3 because he always has access to it. But
like new Trickster is like the slowest fucking molasses throw rate from before.
It's like
and extra knives.
It's like our base kit throw rate.
Laceration.
Yeah, it's like our base kit throw rate is limited by ammo, and it damages in like the same speed as an M1. So the only thing you're playing for there is a main event, and it feels so sad.
Yeah, this one is like I would call him like a chase-oriented Trickster more for the general public than compared to the other one, because I feel like a lot of players, since there was no like actual tutorial how to use his power, we're basically down one survivor. By that time, all the gens are done, and then camp, and then just blast everyone with main event. So I would say
that's funny though,
the
because
general,
he's better.
Like, this one is. Yeah.
Like he was better for chase before, which is like a weird dichotomy where the less experienced Tricksters would camp more before, but his chase was better before, and now everyone camps.
Yeah, new Trickster is basically a side grade at best to like the old version where it's like, we're faster in chase so we can hit more knives, and like the base throw rate, and with memento it's a little faster, but it's like pretty much still just as slow in like an actual like real chase to like down someone, and then when someone makes a misplay, they're just not punished as much as they used to be.
I don't know how to like explain this, but I'll stand by this fact that old Trickster was kind of like Dark Souls, and for someone like they would literally need to go through like at least 500, 1,000 hours to learn like what is a mistake, because you feel it immediately the moment you make a mistake as Trickster. The moment you hold your knives a little too longer, the moment like if you spam too much, the recoil is gonna get to you. You're gonna miss more knives. You're gonna reload more often. That's where I was gonna get distance. The decay is gonna hit you because it's gonna take a while for you to catch up. So the issue was like there was just no proper guide, and I kind of a little bit feel bad for that. But I do feel like this rework, even though it wasn't very successful, it kind of like unified or united us all.
Yeah.
To like even have Trickster be talked about this
Heck
much.
yeah.
I don't think any of us would have met each other if I would have met NJ, but like I wouldn't have met Zozo. I wouldn't have met like a fuck ton of people in the in the Trickster community if like this rework didn't happen. So at the very least, this Trickster rework was the biggest mental tax on my like.
Yeah, imagine if I wasn't like a dick to you on the forums. What would have happened?
I wouldn't have been friends with you apparently, I guess.
So yeah, in a way, it's like, well, hopefully something better will come. But yeah, this rework did something at least. It unified us, and
It got people talking about our shitty character.
I would say it even like kind of brought some respect to the character, because like I feel like the word got out. Many content creators made a video about Trickster, about Trickster players, and how we actually play the killer, and that like, oh, we're just spamming knives. Like, no.
And then they made the
That's
character
nothing
more
special.
spammy than ever.
Like, I feel the opposite of like when I see a Trickster in the game, like, cause like I'll be watching like Indie or someone like play Survivor and like getting Tricksters, and it's like I'm just like annoyed watching someone play against Trickster, because like I used to fucking really like this killer, and like every time I see like a Trickster like just in the wild, it feels so fucking ass, because it genuinely seems like no different from the Survivor perspective, whether the Trickster is insane or whether they're just like mediocre.
No, they just
now
nerfed them.
compared to before.
Oh, I understand that entirely. I definitely understand. But yeah, I can definitely see it. I think there's definitely some respect and a better understanding for Trickster ever since the change.
Yeah.
Just from, namely, a large part of you guys talking about it so much. I mean, I don't think I can remember the last time I saw a Dead by Daylight post that I didn't see Rev commenting about the changes.
Oh, you can thank Zozo for that.
That was my idea.
I love it. No, it works. I mean, we all know Pixie, and Pixie did the same thing for Night, right? Sometimes when these bad changes come about, they could probably stay if the people that play them the most weren't so vocal about it. So I think it's a good...
we would have gotten changes earlier if we would have done that from the start. But it's really hard to find where.
Yeah, but I just stopped caring about the killer, because I was like, I had a job. I was like working like 5 days a week, 12-hour shifts. I was fucking miserable, and like my killer was shitty. Every time I came home, I had nothing to play because the killer was awful. I was like, dude, I don't even fucking care about this game anymore. I'm done. And then I was like, okay, one last time, I'll make a forum post, and then that'll be it. Okay, one more time, I'll make a forum post. And
One more time.
Oh, okay. I'll make a quick YouTube video to like get my thoughts. Okay, I'll make another YouTube video, and then that'll be it.
I've made like 3 forum posts, 2 YouTube videos, endless clips, and my entire stream existence for the last 10 months has just been blowing my voice out yelling about this, because there's so many misconceptions. And a lot of people are really happy and excited to talk when they know nothing about what they're talking about, and it is so annoying.
Yes.
What do you mean, bro? Like, Trickster's better now because he throws faster and he moves faster, and like he's getting main event more often. Like, dude, this killer's awesome now. Like, wait, how are you mad, bro? Like, he literally throws faster than he ever did before. Like, this killer is just better.
No, I get you. The amount of times I've heard people tell me that like turrets are pointless against Xeno, or that they want Chucky's manual scamper back, has made me want to tear my hair out.
The thing about the turrets is literally just the like turret sitting in front of the control station speech.
Yes.
bubble.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm hijacking. The turrets, in theory, are not there to take out the power. That's like a bonus that can sometimes happen. They are literally placeable body blocks. And when they're placed well, even one by itself can be such a pain in the ass. The problem is people put them right by there, and when the Xeno comes out of the tunnels, they turn off. So they're just like free little M1s.
Oh, they're like
but if
loop
you place them at like, if you put them at the right spot on like a T and L, you can literally make the Xeno have to make a choice of being burned out of the power or hitting the turret, and you can literally make like 2 loops over if you place it correctly, because they'll have to leave the loop to hit it. Or you can just like purposely know they'll hit it, but it gives you just enough time as a body block to make the next loop. That's the whole point.
Sent me this. Look in the group chat.
I struggle a bit, because
Yep.
I generally against
You know, man.
Nemesis don't have the best time. And
Yeah.
cause I don't know, does Xeno also have like a linger or no? When
They
They do, but
do.
it's like
Actually,
not that much.
it confuses me how that works.
You have
So,
like, I don't remember the exact frames, but it feels like it's about 1.5 seconds long to linger. Like I can literally shoot.
0.2.
Yeah,
It's the same timer as Trickster's wind-up time.
There's a clip I have of
It's actually much
I'm in a
shorter.
4-lane and I shoot my tail down 4-lane, and I had enough time to pull my camera skyward and whip it over the wall and have it linger into the next column and still get the hit.
Yeah, the
Oh,
it's
linger
shorter?
feels very long, but it's actually like not that long. And unlike Nemi, who can linger after hitting an obstacle and then just keep going with the hitbox, Xeno will instantaneously end their hitbox if they collide with anything.
Chucky
That's
has
why
a linger
the linger
too.
does not feel as good as Nemi.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scorpion tail thing that Chucky does, where he jumps and then like changes his hitbox into a scorpion tail. It's weird.
Yeah. People
The
don't
bunny
realize
hop
that's
is-
a linger.
The bunny hop
bunny hop's
actually has
huge.
effectiveness too. You can jump
Oh, yeah.
around the Eyrie of Crow's loop at the top of the
Yep.
staircase.
There's actually a few you can get. You can get like some really cool Sky Billy type shots with it. It's so funky.
You know, why would I do that when I can just like cancel and then like insta charge a fucking dash and
Alchemist Chucky.
outplay every time?
Oh my god, don't. That needs to go. I can't believe that they're getting rid of Wolf Hug techs before they
when
deal with
Alchemist
Chucky. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to, we got so off topic, but yeah. The DVD problems, they keep coming and they don't fix
They
the
just
right
stack
ones.
up.
Yeah. Hey, Knight kind of got fixed. Still has a lot of bugs, but they're better. So, I mean, there's...
Least buggy DVD killer the night.
It's because they
Oh,
listen. They listen a lot to the casual player base because there's a lot more casual players, and so when the casual players see something that's like, "Oh, that's
Super hard.
crazy. That's not how it's supposed to work," they all en masse are like, "Yeah, like get rid of this," even though they don't understand the ramifications of removing something that is so incremental to actually getting additional value with the killer.
Yeah, and that's a valid complaint, right? Like, there's more
Um.
casual players than there are us hardcore players, right? And they together, even if they only buy a few skins, like 1 or 2, they're paying way more money. They're making Dead by
Yeah.
Daylight more money than we are, and that's fair. That's a very valid criticism, but at the same time, you could literally just incorporate that into the killer power description,
Mm-hmm.
lines of text, or like a little was it VHS or something? There was some ASIM where they would have like a little clip of how the character worked, or to explain it better. And Dead by Daylight desperately needs something similar to that, where it's like, hey, this is Wesker, this is kind of what he does.
Yeah, I've said for a long time that like they need to like probably stop making killers have like 30 paragraph long like lore dumps like right in their description instead just like put that effort into writing like, here's how to use this killer and how to play certain tiles with it and how to play against it as a survivor. Like just in vague terms, like be a little helpful on like what their intentions are with the killer. Just
Oh,
to,
yeah,
I'm
like,
surprised they don't have like a YouTube channel that's
They
like
something.
do.
DVD and then like how to or something. I don't know.
They do. If you
Yeah,
go to the
'cause
DVD shorts, like if you go to the DVD channel on YouTube and you go to their shorts, they actually have a Trickster quick tip one.
Yeah.
And it's
What
written
does
by
it say?
Brandon. It's written by Brandon.
Okay.
And it's great. I wish they did more of those because
They only did that one.
yeah, they
Well, it's
only did
hard
that
to,
one.
That sucks.
Well, it's hard because when they drop a killer, even a new one, or they make changes to an old one, they just kind of give us the changes, but they don't really fully explain the intentions of what they're expecting from those design
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah, like
Like, what-
I on God, I have no idea what they intended to do with Skull Merchant. Like to this day, I have no idea what their plan was with that killer, other than like, she stalks people with the drones and goes in for the quick kill. It's like, oh, that doesn't translate well in the game at all. This is awful, actually. So it's like
Yeah.
if they just had like a couple paragraphs of like those loading screen tips you get when you load in against the killer the first time, and like when you're playing them, just like write all those down in one place so you can just quickly check them. You know, not like the one time I get to play against them as Survivor like a year. That would be nice.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to go back on the whole like simplifying of everything. I think that's sort of becoming an industry standard for video games in general. Like I've seen it like in COD or many other video games, where besides like the Souls type of games, where the games are just being, how do I say, simplified, made it more accessible. And
That's-
yeah, I think that's the route that gaming is going. Kind of, I've seen it even in Overwatch. Like so many characters are just being made to be easier,
I'm hoping
and
that
that's
changes
sort of like a
because, like, I mean, it makes sense that you want to. I mean, business, right? So you want to develop for like the lowest common denominator, and right now people are like working more than they ever have. The people that
Yeah.
can get jobs, but like there's that new game Deadlock that everybody's going crazy for, and a lot of reasons people are going crazy for it is because of the complexity. And I'm
Mhm.
hoping that games like that come out and really are games you can sink your teeth into. Or what's the one that it's a fighting game based off League of Legends. I forgot the name of it now, but that one's got a lot of complexity on it, even for a fighting game. So hopefully those games kind of show that the complexity is what keeps people coming back.
And League of Legends and,
why
and
PvP's been
Valorant have a
Yeah.
lot of complexity, and they're
Right.
some of the biggest games in the market. So
And that's
yeah,
why
I
they
feel like
stick
just
around.
money-hungry companies kind of like just go towards like, oh, if we made it more for casuals, we'll make more money, and yeah,
yeah,
I kind of see
I
that
don't,
more.
I don't have any complaints when it comes to making things accessible. My complaint comes when they start eating away at the complexity for the
Mhm.
casual.
Just like-
That's my
you just
concern.
lower
No,
the
agreed.
depth. You just remove any depth that there might have been or ever was or could be.
Yeah, because
Just
at that
make it
point,
so, like, everyone will pick up this killer for 5 minutes and then drop them once they realize, like,
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
god,
I
I'm
have
God
one.
tier.
Well, and
Nice.
what's funny
Super good.
is that like Dead by Daylight never capitalizes on what they have, and where Dead by Daylight, in my opinion, is probably the perfect viewable game. Like it's the perfect game to stream. It's a really easy game for people that don't even play to like pick up because you have 5 gens in the corner. Like you can just glance at a game of Dead by Daylight and you know exactly what the situation is. You can see the hook states, everything. Like all the information is available at a glance. Whereas like you play a lot of other games and like you multiplayer
There's
shooters.
so much on the screen.
Yeah, well, and you don't even know what the state of the game is unless you play by you play it yourself and you're very knowledgeable. But Dead by Daylight is not like that at all. You can glance and somebody can kind of explain for like half a second what it is, and you can pick up like within the next match, you'll know exactly what's going on any moment. You can look away from the screen, come back, you're like, oh, okay, the survivors are fucked, or oh shit, they're down to 1 gen and he's got 2 hooks. He's fucked. The killer's fucked.
there's a big
but
reason
they
this
never-
game has some of the biggest viewership on Twitch.
Yeah, and that's what they should lean into, right? But if you kill that complexity, well, now all of a sudden your streamers that play it,
Yeah, the people who
thousands
sit
and
here
thousands.
playing this game
Although
for
I do
thousands
kinda
of hours
feel
have
like-
nothing to do.
Yeah. Although I do kind of feel like the viewer base is more like towards Survivor, because to me, I feel like Survivor kind of feels like you're just chatting stream, because like most of the survivors are either doing gens or healing or doing totems on stream, and they have so much time to like glance at chat and just relax.
Yeah.
Oh,
At least in my opinion.
And also, I think a reason why it feels like a lot of killers are being simplified and, for lack of a better term, like dumbed down, is because a lot of streamers want to be like, a lot of the biggest streamers and a lot of players in general want to be the jack of all trades, like master of
yeah.
none type. And so, like,
Yes.
making the killers have less depth and be like easier to play makes it so, person who plays like every killer in the game doesn't have to like spend like 150 hours like in a week playing Trickster to like get good at him. And it's like, say what
well,
you
even
will,
that-
I feel like that's not a good way to balance a game.
No, I mean, and that's not sustainable. Like when we had like 25, we're almost to 40 killers now.
Yeah,
Even
people
if you
can't
play
afford
all
to
of
be the
them-
jack of all trades.
Well, yeah, and you like even just mentally like trying to keep in mind like, wait, what the fuck does this killer do? Eventually, will kind of like hit a point where you just can't. Like you won't be able to play like 55 killers and then hop on Trickster and be like, oh wait, okay, I gotta aim the knives this way. There's this. Oh, I'm going to Xeno. Oh wait, I gotta aim a lot higher than center screen now. And then like swap to Trapper and be like, oh wait, how many traps do I start with? Oh yeah.
And for like straight up a year, I had no idea what the fuck Sadako did because they kept changing her. I still don't know what she does. I still don't.
All
Like,
I
what
want
does
to
that killer do? No.
All good. All I want to say is there's a reason why Wesker and Oni and Blight are some of the most liked characters in the game, and I don't think that it's because of exactly how they're designed. It's because like they have so much variety of how effective the killer is based on the player playing them. If you don't have a like growing sense of like skill being expressive in a character, then you're just gonna have the strongest case of the killer happen at all times. Like, take for example, playing with like I think that's a big complaint that people have about Soul Merchant a lot, is that you can't really tell the difference between, like, at a glance, you can't tell the difference between a mastered Skull Merchant and a non-mastered Skull Merchant, because it's hard to discern unless you know what you're looking at. And I think that's a problem that they've been designing killers with recently, where they're trying to make everything so bare bones that everyone can play it at the highest level, but that doesn't allow the character to even exist at the highest level. Like, I have not seen a Trickster since they changed him, like, more than 3 times. Like,
I've
as
seen
Survivor?
Indy.
Oh, I'm fortunate then.
I haven't played against a single Trickster since his rework.
Yeah, and-
I've only seen Indy.
Yeah.
And you're in like the sweatiest Survivor MMO I've ever seen. Like,
You know what's funny, Rev? Last night I was doing my Juan streak, and I played against someone who was a P100 Trickster and had #Revert Trickster in their fucking Steam bio.
oh, that's Arkandal.
No,
think-
it was a Twitch streamer named Cozy Rose.
Cozy Rose.
Oh, Cozy.
I love Cozy.
That's so funny.
Cozy.
They're from our communities. I love them.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them, but I was like, no fucking way. No way I get this kind of person when I'm playing Juan. It's not as possible.
They probably loved it.
That's fucking great.
I did clip them. Just for reference for the chat, I did clip them.
Oh man. Oh, we got way off topic. Okay. I'll
Okay,
get back.
okay.
I like this. I will include all of this too in the
Perfect.
video. I'll put it all like. I'll probably do a shortened version, and then I'll put our little tangents off as another whole video on the side or at the end of the list.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah. Because it's all good conversation. And even as I told Rev, I don't know if I put it in the group chat. A big reason I want to start with Trickster is, one, Rev helped me kind of put this together, but two, I really want Trickster to kind of go back and get those changes. And I think the more you guys are putting your voices out there and doing that, maybe this can be a little bit of help and help other people understand, and just more people speaking, maybe we can get there.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to have my voice amplified on this, because one of the most frustrating things was when the rework was announced and I was just completely alone in my view, like, this update is bad and this would be bad changes and no one will like this. And everyone told me I was wrong and that it was a buff and I shouldn't complain and that it was cringe to even worry about it. And guess what? Nobody likes this killer. Nobody likes the changes. Nobody likes playing him. Nobody likes playing against him. Surprise! I was right.
All the content
seen that
creators at the
coming.
time were just talking over us, and it was awful.
Look how strong Trickster is now. When I run a broken add-on, it's insane.
The 500,000 views on YouTube of, oh, he's broken, and it's like.
And then the very next video is, oh, Trickster sucks now. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we
No
could have told you
shit.
that.
Like, it was funny. Like, I was basically watching every video that posted, and I'm like just counting the amount of knives they're using, and I'm like, yo, these people, they'd be reloading every chase if they did not have that one add-on.
Literally, because like they just but they miss a lot of shots and then just hold M1 and then hit 6 or whatever it was with the soda. They hit 4 and then reload with main event. It's like, wow.
And what's funny, like, soda as an add-on, like, sure, it was cool, but it would go against the combo score because you would get it faster and you can't calculate. So you're going against your buff you're giving yourself. And it's like, I'm watching videos and people are either playing against, in PTB, you don't have people tryharding. You have people that want to see Chucky, and then they DC, or you play against bots in a custom. And I'm like, I cannot believe, like...
Bots don't function against this killer.
They don't.
Yeah.
But they were using bots as an example for why the killer was OP.
Yeah, the bots that just randomly run into your knives, or vault into your face.
run into a
They
wall.
run into the corner or they stand still. It's like, yeah.
But we still have this one meme. I don't know if Rev remembers it. The one big knife. Like,
One big knife age is upon us.
Trickster, too easy to camp a tunnel. Gets nerfed, and then I wish he had something different, like a big knife, one shot, and it's like,
Oh my god.
didn't you just say he's just too easy to camp a tunnel?
I thought you didn't like Eerie Head.
Yeah,
I guess that
I
changed.
think we're slowly trying to turn every killer, like every dash killer, is just slowly becoming blight, and that's what people want. Or every ranged killer, they
Huntress.
eventually just want to be huntress with eerie hatch. I'm like, you guys have no idea what you're talking
Yep.
about.
Someone in Rev's chat just got fucked. Holy shit.
That's a bot.
So,
They're trying to sell me viewers.
Back at the time, I remember like I'm streaming and how to say, I had this like break just like Rev, and my ex at the time was like giving me the update, and then people are just like DMing me. It's like buff, and I'm like I'm reading it. I'm like, no,
Where?
no, this is not enough. This is not a buff.
Where?
And I remember like
Sorry
I
to be
was
off
writing
topic. Can
down-
I grab some math for you guys real quick?
Sure.
Okay, let me grab this. I've been spreading this around Twitter the whole time because the math is stark, and I'll give the link to you as well if you have not seen it, Ghost, as well. The math of what happened to Trickster's kill rates or kill speeds is
Time to kill.
really, his time to kill is telling. Yeah, posting in the group chat.
Oh, I have seen you post that.
Yeah. Old Trickster at minimum ramp with no knives thrown damages you at 2 seconds per injury. Old Trickster at max ramp, which happened after, 8 knives thrown? To 4 knives per second, it's the throw rate. Damaged you in 1.6 seconds. Current Trickster damages you at 2.2 seconds, or 2.4 seconds, which is a 0.6 second nerf, which is like a 33% nerf from the average before. And then not just that, people have exclaimed to me that main event is better now, and I'm like, okay, mathematically speaking,
He shot
no.
faster in main event
No.
before.
he shot faster in main event before. His damage in old main event
Was a health state a second.
was 1.62 injuries per second if you included the 0.5 second windup. So including the sunk cost, it's 1.62 injuries per second. With current main event, including the sunk cost of the 0.5 second windup, it's 1.96. It's still almost a 33% nerf.
Damn.
Alright.
That
Like, the
4.6,
fucking...
Let's go.
With the fact that you basically, like... Okay, with Trickster now... Trickster before, you hold down M1 on someone from full health to down who isn't moving. You would down them in, like, 3.5 seconds, something like that. And, like, new Trickster, it's like, you gotta take, like, 2.4 seconds for the health state, half a second to wind up main event, and then, like, another, like, 1.5 seconds to down them with main event. And it's like, if it's better, it's, like, a negligible, like, increase, but then you combine that with the fatigue at the end, that's 3 seconds, 5-second cooldown on your power. The fact that, like, it's not very useful in chase because the slightly faster windup doesn't make a difference when people are just breaking line of sight correctly compared to now.
Oh yeah, we get
before.
stunned
It
every
just-
5 seconds. Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
also
they
a
just-
factor that needs to be included.
Also,
Like,
like the fact that like I think sometimes when you take the house and you want to pop main event immediately, it doesn't let you. I don't know if there's a bug or something.
It's just like
Like,
ping, honestly. That's it. And like travel time.
Like I get the health state, but like it doesn't let me immediately trigger it. Sometimes it does, but like at times it's like I'm pressing the button and it's like what is going on?
Yeah,
It's
I've
weird.
noticed.
We can get back on topic though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. No. I think it's important. Remember, I really want you guys to talk about your character a lot of
Yeah.
this. And while we're breaking it down objectively, it is important for everybody to just kind of understand where you guys are coming from as players that have spent a lot of time and effort on the character.
I
Yeah,
do
so,
kind of wish I played the original Trickster with the old death throws.
Yeah, I played that. It was
bad.
pain because
I
I
wasn't there.
I was so bad at the game that I couldn't really take advantage of it. But I did play every version of Trickster.
Old Death Throws was fun, but you have to keep in mind that that version of Death Throws only existed with hit inaccuracy. So
Yeah.
you were playing a hipfire Uzi in Call of Duty
No,
and
for
trying
like,
to
for
do
like a
accuracy.
month, you could use it without like random spread.
Yeah,
It
true.
was like a month you could do it like normally.
Yeah, I think it was pretty interesting, but also I miss Edge. I know people thought it was
What, the
busted.
bug?
I miss edge of revival
Oh.
cut through single so much. I loved the accuracy of going diagonally down through people's legs and trying to maximize exactly how, like, that point at which it hit the
No,
ground
that was
and
actually
them.
kind of fun.
It was so fun,
Yeah.
and they killed
I
it.
think something like that needs to exist.
Yeah,
Like in
We'll see.
terms of like a skill-based way to lower laceration count.
Yep.
Tune of
Exactly.
revival. No way you're stealing my meme in the chat.
So back on track. Lethality range, like in a 1v1, how far
Ooh.
away are you a threat? Now
10
we
meters.
can go from
10, 15 max.
10, 15.
yeah, it's really short. Like, because you have to consider,
Hashtag disagree.
like, line of sight is something that is a lot easier to get to if you're at a further range, right? And also, the further distance you have on Trickster is the further time he has to commit to confirm a hell state. So if you already have knives in you and he goes after you and you already have pretty much like a guaranteed like fatigue start, hypothetically, and he tries to bite that and like pull, like grab that bait, you could be out a lot of time as Trickster in that circumstance. So
And
it
ammo.
is, yeah, and ammo. It is absolutely a, like, it is a, it's a spectrum because it depends a lot on player skill, depends a lot on the survivor's skill, depends a lot on the map, depends on a lot of things. But in general, you cannot pressure multiple survivors outside of a 15-meter range, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You can pressure
But
one,
this is the
but not
this is the
multiple.
1v1.
like
That's
Yeah.
true. But even still, I think it needs
So-
to be taken into consideration how much he can lose value if laceration meter burns. And that usually starts burning if you're outside of a certain range and then start chasing that survivor.
No, that
Like,
makes sense. I actually assumed it was going to
how-
be similar to a regular M1 because you can't really let them get that far. It's not like a Huntress where if they make a lot of distance on you, you can just get like a really good hatchet in and like make up all
Well,
that cost.
Actually,
I
no,
don't
I think
know.
that's like a better situation because if you like hit someone with like 6 or 7 and then they decide to like break LOS, get their lithe, and then run away, almost every single time, no matter how far they get, if I can see them, I hit them and they're injured. And that's lethality distance. That's very significant in terms of like 1v1. Because like I said, it's like a lot of things with this killer, like you're not lethal until you hit like 5 blades, 6 blades already. But like once you're at that range with the survivor, like once the survivor has been hit that many times, you're deadly. Like you're one of the deadliest killers in the game. If you only need to hit someone like 3 times, that's fucked. Like there's nothing they can do.
I would say it depends on how the chase like starts and where it's going. As Zozo mentioned before, if you're starting a chase and the survivor is not damaged at all, a knife from afar,
Yeah.
it is not used for that chase. It's used
You're
for
used for, like, your
another
1v4.
chase.
You're gonna charge your main event off that snipe, and then like you have like a
Yeah,
99's main event pretty
so
much.
that's why I kind of said like everything is kind of linked with Trickster, even though yes, that knife might not injure the survivor. It's to pocket main event and shred someone else.
Wouldn't that,
Yeah.
but that would fall outside the 1v1. That would fall into the 1v4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
but,
like,
but what I'm trying to say is like with Trickster, not like every knife is impactful.
Yeah, I think so.
But I would say for like Zozo's case, depends on the Trickster player. Like I would say like this. Let's say if someone is, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 laceration. If you're a non-experienced Trickster player, you could literally dish out half your magazine, get the health state, go reload, you don't care, you got the injury. But I would say for an experienced Trickster, like every knife counts, and depending on if you're willing to take the risk. And for me, I mostly go for knives that I know that are going to result into something where it's like kind of like an 80% chance. So if it's the last knife of a 7 knife laceration, sure. But if it's 4th, 5th, I'm already leaving the chase. I'm not going above, let's say, shack wall distance, or let's say main, I don't know, like one side wall.
No, shack
like-
distance makes sense.
I'm very confident in my accuracy from a distance, just on account of like fastest thing in the game is a Trickster knife, pretty much. So like I'm pretty much sure like as long as I know like where the survivor's gonna be going, I can hit them. So like I don't use my snipes like to be lethal. Like I'm either charging main event if it's someone that's not, already been lacerated, and if it's someone who's like I just hit 7 times and they're leaving chase and they're getting distance, I'm just gonna fucking Hawk Chua fucking snipe them across the map and they'll just take a health stance. Like there's not much they can do about that because it's not like a Huntress where you can actually hear it coming. He doesn't have like very much of a wind-up sound or a travel sound for the knife. It just hits them and they're like, huh? That hit? It's like it happens all the time when I'm playing. Like I know like pubs aren't the most insane survivor skill level, but it's like it happens all the time.
So it sounds like it's definitely above average, but it's also situational once you get past like that 10-15 meters is kind of what I'm gathering.
It's like just above average, I think, in terms of like it's better than
It's pretty significantly above average. Like it's not like he's unlethal from like ranges. Like the 10 to 15 meter range you described, like that's Nurse's lethality range.
Yeah, it's less than.
I would say like it's consistent, but everything
Huntress.
above that is kind of like you're taking a gamble, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like less... you're going for a snipe for some kind of benefit. It's either you're going to be charging your main event or you're going to enter the survivor, or pause the laceration.
I would say in most scenarios, if the survivor has a lot of distance and no damage in them, you're either leaving them or catching up to them. Because it depends on line of sight of what they have.
But like like we've said, like if that survivor has not been hit at all, then you're not aiming to be lethal towards them.
Yeah, that has to be taken into account though, because you don't always have that.
So yeah, 2. I would say 2 is okay.
I'd honestly go 2.5, just on account of like how many killers in this game really are short range, and like the killers that are long range, like it's kind of a gamble. Like Billy can be lethal from anywhere, but like he's not gonna be like exactly cross map sniping you the same way. He's mostly just gonna like dash over to you, land on top of you, and then like start the chase. And I feel like Trickster's a similar way, where it's like if you're sniping people, you're getting something out of it. You're either getting a hit because they're high laceration, or you're charging main event, or if their laceration's depleting, you're stopping it from depleting.
I would put 2.5 if you take in case add-ons, then sure, like trick blades, album, cufflinks, DTC.
I try to put the add-ons, not make them be the complete case, just because they're add-ons on the base kit, but that's fair. I
add-ons add to it, but like I don't think they're like.
Because like how do I say? Let's say for me, just to say, like there was a time where like I would run like sniper Trickster, and I would say like I had like a lot of fun if I would to have like watch, tequila, and then let's say death throws, and it's like I'm literally sniping the survivor. So in moments like that, I would say yes, like that kind of would justify the 2.5.
Like there's killers that can exclusively.
But otherwise, I would put it in 2.
Yeah, there's killers that can
like
exclusively play snipe playstyle, like Slinger, Unknown, Huntress, at their maximum snipe range. And yes, they're varying ranges, absolutely. But Trickster landing a few knives at like 30 meters, it's gonna get you more pressure, but that doesn't necessarily
more for the
mean
1v4.
That doesn't necessarily
basically
mean that it's more like lethality onto that player. If it was 1v4, I would agree completely. But like this, like landing a few knives at like 30 meters is inconsequential for killing that player specifically. Yes, it might get you main event more often, but like I'd put old Trickster at 2.5. Yeah, but with the 33% nerf to his lethality, effectively range because of his time to kill being much lower, and his laceration decay not being able to, like once decay starts, you're not going to pick up on extra lacerations to finish off a hell state at long range, in my opinion. So I would put current Trickster at 2. I would put old at 2.5, because still, even at old Trickster, Huntress was better at sniping off hell states back then, and so was Unknown, and so was Slinger at max range.
I
mean, even though Trickster like shoots faster, I still feel like Huntress having the bigger hitbox, better hatchet, and it being damage is like it. I don't know. Even though the Trickster knife is faster, it's like there's like a big difference. So I can't like put him at 3, 2.5 with add-ons, but I'd stick to 2 personally,
Okay.
especially with this version.
There's another thing that I
Okay.
think needs to be taken into account as well. If you're throwing knives at 30 meters or so, yes, you can get it down there technically, but the movement speed of you being in non-throw state is high enough to where you make more lethal pressure on that player by simply running at them than throwing your knife at 30 meters. So you actually are incentivized to cut your distance because you can't get snap damage.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense to me. All right, so, okay, that's
Yeah, you're kind of even zoning survivor in a way to making them not run efficiently if you're quote-unquote sniping them.
Yeah, I just think I take into account the fact that like Trickster as a character isn't lethal until he's already like done a fuck ton of damage to a survivor, like hit them a bunch of times. So like the fact that like you're not gonna hit 6 knives from 30 plus meters is true, but like it's not really what you're going for most of the time. Like if I'm sniping someone to injure them, it's because they're already like almost injured because I've applied the pressure already, and I'm just like they've gotten distance because that's a smart thing to do. So they take the health state, and they're already far away, like far as fuck.
Yeah. If you're one knife away from the max, then it's like a 3.
Sure.
It's like a 3.
Very situational, yeah.
But if you're anywhere below like 6 lacerations in you, I think it's probably a 2.5 to 2.
Yeah, and that's just like the way the killer is built, because he's not like Huntress who can just create pressure from a long distance by holding mouse 2. He has to hit people, and he only has a short time in between the hits to keep that lethality, that pressure.
It's also really
Okay.
hard to
Very
make
much unlike
significant
her.
distance on him after he's built up a bunch of laceration, in my opinion.
Well,
Unless
yeah,
you have
your
like
options are
life
really
or
limited.
sprint burst or something.
Yeah, you'll save your sprint bursts for those situations, and in those situations you
Or
can
if
still
you
use your sniping,
if you
Okay.
correctly make the Trickster
like waste time.
take your health state, but like as you're vaulting something, but like the last frame of the vaulting animation, because it kind of turns it into life in a way. So if you can make a Trickster get your health state the moment you create that like separation from you and him, that's I guess like a basic distance you can make. But usually a Trickster main would make it so like he takes your health state before you do any animation to cut distance. But it's one thing you can think about if you ever encounter a Trickster player.
Like damaging you
camera.
right before you reach the window in the inside of Shack, so that you're forced to like make the choice of dropping the pallet or holding W and not using the pallet, or
Right.
losing like half your post damage movement speed, taking that window instead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's always
But
better
if
to
you-
just not drop the pallet and just keep going, pretty much. But
Yeah, being greedy against them
Yeah.
is very good, since Trickster players are used to kind of like, at least in my case, that you want to avoid being the typical killer that like just breaks pallets or doors. You just want to, at least, even if they give you a resource, you want damage with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes
So,
sense. Well, it looks like he kind of landed where I kind of expected in the 1v1, where he's not better, like the best in the game, but he's definitely above average. So that's kind of what I expected.
But it depends on the player, I would say.
Definitely.
he's not necessarily like the most like efficient with his 1v1s. He just has a lot of quirks that can allow you to leverage time efficiency out of people that don't know what they're doing.
Basically.
That makes sense. Capitalizing on mistakes.
Yeah, he's very good at
Yeah,
that.
Punisher.
Very, very good at that.
Yeah,
As Zozo said before.
Okay, so his 1v4. Now, I put gen pressure down there, but I mean his ability, and by that I mean his ability to impact and interrupt survivors doing gens just on base, and you can take into account how well he works with like different gen perks. I don't want that to be the focus, but just his overall ability to impact gen speeds with his presence.
I'm gonna reel this guy. He fucking sucks at
That's, that's kind of what I expected.
Like,
It-
yeah.
I don't think so.
anything that's passive with him is the best option.
Like, if you rotate, like, say you compare this character to, like, a character that is going to Like, because if you pre-run this character, like, this gen pressure is really, really, really pitiful, I think. Like, yeah, you can, like, hold an area if you, like, hook someone in an area with gens, but, like, that's something that every killer, in my opinion, has access to. Trickster does it better, but that doesn't, like, it's
kind of
very
reliant
hard.
on anything that saves him downtime. Saves him time from, like anything that speeds him up a little bit. Or, like, buys him time, so it's like, I don't know, as a Trickster player, agitation is super good, because you want to, like, decrease any downtime that you have. So that's why some people even run reload add-ons or whatever. But
go on, sorry.
Like, just value from perks that are active regression is not the best. Anything that can kind of, like, make him be more in chase and less focused on kicking, floating on hooks, helps him.
He sounds similar to Chucky, where, I mean,
he's all about momentum. So
yeah,
anything, any bad chase, a forced reload, flashlight save,
tempo,
Eden DS.
He's very
anything
tempo.
that ruins his tempo, momentum, basically is, like, one step closer to him losing the game.
Like, you can't, like say if you walk up on someone that's doing a gen, barring having pop, I don't think you ever kick that gen without a gen kick perk.
You know when you kick that gen? You want to know when you kick that gen? When you have hooked someone right next to it, and you can guard the hook and the gen and the area around
like,
surrounding the
in
whole
my
place.
personal
exactly,
Zozo. And what I give people advice, like, first, as Trickster, I would not kick a gen that's below 2 pistons or 50%, but it's only if I have nothing better to do. Either I just hooked a survivor, or basically, I don't know, I guess it's like some form of 3-gen scenario where, like, everyone's on the other side of the map or whatever. So if I have, like, free time and I have nothing better to do, that's when I kick the gen. Otherwise, avoiding it to the max.
So, let me ask you a question. Does the amount of time, because we covered earlier, he has to devote quite a bit of time to his chase to get the down. His time to down is kind of low. Do you think that impacts his ability to monitor gens more so than, like, an average vanilla imaginary?
I think that makes him above average, because his chases are pretty consistent and pretty fast depending on skill level and how much you outplay the survivors. You can get that hook in your 3-gen or 2-gen even, and just defend that area with the hook and the gens, and you can keep them regressing, and they have to go for the hook, and going for the unhook is very scary in Trickster, obviously. Always has been, always will be. It's just very, like, you have to play very territorial with Trickster if you're going for, like, the 1v4-esque, like, playstyle. Just based on, like, how fast your chases are, how much you can slug, because you have, like, pretty much no penalty for downing people, taking health states. You can just do a lot and force resets while gens are regressing. The 1v4, he's pretty above average in that regard, just with how much damage he can do and how much he can cover in a distance.
I may have not, like, understood the question the best, so if you could, like, repeat it.
So, you mean the question about, like, devoting time to chase versus gens? That question a little earlier? Yeah. So, maybe I'll... So, since he has to devote so much of his time to chase, his time to down, it sounds like, is lower than average. Do you think that impacts his ability, since he's spending more time in chase, to then effectively monitor the gens throughout the map?
I think you're more motivated to chase than you are to do, like, pressure areas with your, like to push people off of gens. Like, if you push people off of gens, then you need to commit to a chase immediately off of that. If you don't, then you are in trouble.
I would say, like, yes, chases are important, because then if you're too fast and the survivors feel like they need to catch up, and they'll put themselves in a position where, you know, they deny their own off the record or DS because they want to rush the gens. So yeah, I would say you just finding survivors and seeking them and downing them is the most important thing. And monitoring gens is, like, if you don't know where the survivors are and that's where you find them, that's the only reason why you go after the gens.
So it sounds like unless you hook a survivor near gen, his gen pressure really doesn't exist. The pressure is more so in the chases.
It's not that it doesn't exist. I mean, people have to pre-run you a lot, so it means they can't get as much gen progress if you're approaching, because doing that is a very bad idea. They'll just take a health save for free.
Yeah, it's that
So-
he's so explosive. Sorry, go ahead, Zozo. I'm sorry.
It's just that he does so much damage that people have to pre-run, so he can push people off gens very quickly, which is why stuff like Ruin is a very good perk on him. You don't need Corrupt on Trickster at this point. I think Ruin is just better because it just does things for you so passively, and he can play into that very well by defending his totem, defending his hook, defending his gens when he has the hook, and just when he has slugs in general, he can just down someone, go somewhere else, pressure a different gen, because again, they have to pre-run, so they have to lose progress.
If people are edge mapping against this character, the person in chase can kind of dictate your gen pressure in a lot of ways if they position the macro correctly. In solo queue, I think his gen pressure is pretty high, but
Yeah.
in like a 4-man, like if someone is edge mapping you or intentionally wasting your time by, you know, like making your carry to hook the longest it can possibly be, then your gen pressure can fall off a cliff. It's not, I wouldn't say it's consistent, it's chaotic. And
Yeah.
you're
agreed.
you're incentivized to do gens really fast against Trickster because he can set up an explosion that destroys the whole game. But
Right.
Yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's better at defending them. It's just that it's more pertinent that you finish gens faster against the character because
Which
he is very like the chance of a grouped up team in solo queue just blowing up and the whole match ending in one instance
Yeah.
is very dangerous.
So I think going
Uh,
forward, a good thing to do is probably establish the basic, like what we're grading off of, right? So, because we've talked about like the difference between solo queue or like a good team. I think going through it, we should consider Trickster at his maximum, right? Because we're trying to break him down objectively. So just
To
at his
maximum-
best, yeah, at his maximum efficiency against a good team that knows what they are doing. I don't want to throw in like a team that doesn't know what they're doing, because then really what the killer's doing doesn't matter anymore if it's a bad team, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
a lot of this doesn't matter.
It
It only matters against good teams, more or less. So a team that knows what they're doing.
I think he's about as good as a base on one killer in that context then. Like
Kinda.
No, I think he's a very above average. Again, like I just think Trickster is an above average killer, and just the fact, like I said, is lethality. Lethality is gen pressure, and when you have lethality from a distance, especially, just being able to like deny such a
Like-
big area is very good to have gen pressure.
So would
I
you say
don't
that
know.
you said he's got pressure on gens, but it's through chase?
Yeah, I mean his
you-
1v1 being as above average as it is just creates gen pressure, and because like people have to like I said, they have to pre-run. They can't. They either pre-run or they just take like a free health state or down because they want to get gen progress.
yeah, the game
No, I
operates
think
very
that's
differently for Trickster because you're on a
On higher
timer.
levels.
But
I
like
don't know.
on
I
its
feel like
own,
he relies on snowball. At higher
yeah,
level.
that's part of it. That's where I was kind of going to go. Because we're more looking at this one like his ability to actually impact the generators directly.
Yeah.
We'll get into like his map pressure and snowball, and I think that falls a little bit more into that realm, where he's kind of pressuring different areas of the map. And
Like we have like let's say one video for reference where Watsek went against Senses when Strict Survivor team where he was playing with the best comp survivors. That match was won on snowball basically,
Yeah.
but Watsek could have lost because literally 3 gens were 99, even though Watsek had like the best regression perks in the game.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
Hen
so-
dissected that match, there was things that Hen said that he could just sacrifice his life and it would have just resulted in the gens being popped and a 3-out.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I'm getting is his 1v1 is better than most, but his ability to like directly impact the gens isn't really existent. It's more coming from that snowball potential that they're having to watch out for. Am I correct?
It's existent. I mean, if you have a gen that has like even the tiniest bit of line of sight, you can just, stick one of those tiny knives through there, hit them, and they'll be like, "What the fuck?" and they'll start running. So like that's something. You're charging main event. You're doing something.
Because I do feel like survivors at a higher level, they understand that Trickster will down you, but they at the same time understand when they need to tactically go down. So it's like where they go
Right.
down.
Like a
If
base
it's on a
M1
pallet,
for reference.
If it's like on a rock, I don't know, edge map, or basically just enough to extend the chase for them to 2-stack a gen that breaks you 3 gens. So I would say on the higher level, like everything is snowball against
Yeah.
survivors.
And it's like that does create gen pressure, and much better than an average M1. I really can't agree with the idea that his gen pressure is the same as an M1, because what does an M1 do? They walk up to gen.
I think
Survivor
when
just keeps
we're
preparing
talking
it until you
about,
get close, and then
I think when it comes to gen pressure, I feel like that's more for like him scouting, and if it's base power impacts the gens, like if he can infect them or get info on them, or I don't know.
So
I feel like that's more general pressure than.
Yeah, so the gen pressure would more affect, like, in this section, would more look at, like, if somebody was above average, it'd be like, let's say a plague who can infect some of the generators, so healthy survivors would want to stay off of them, or they'd have to, be infected to go on them, or say Freddy who can teleport to specific gens, and kind of their whole power revolves around the gens. They'd probably be at 3, because almost all their pressure is on the gens. So we're kind of looking at that. But so does anything with the playstyle of Trickster or Trickster's base kit at all impact the generators at all?
If
Like-
he's playing like not a nice guy, yes. If he's playing nice, then
Yeah,
he can't.
it's
affect
purely just so
anything.
you can get a proxy going, I think.
just his power existing from so far does just impact the gens. I think that's just how that is going to happen, just in terms of like how much lethality you can get and how much you can just like see people and hit them and make them scared. Plays into like keeping people off gens, or like at least if it's just like moving to a different side of the gen, which might be less optimal for them making distance. That's something.
Like against like if you
That's
scare
just an option
someone,
most killers don't have.
like if you
Wow.
scare someone off of a gen against good players, that amounts to them eventually just ignoring your presence, I think. Like if they
I mean, they could just invite someone else to come to that gen. You scare one, other one comes, finishes.
yeah, like if you don't
Yeah.
like end your chases, and like you can't really end your chases from 0 to 100 from like 30 meters away. You can't, like, you still have to get hook pressure. Like you need to leverage your hook timers against the gens, and I think especially with the 70-second hook timers, Trickster can't really just like proxy every player to death like back to back to back.
70-second hook stages, like
And
Really
slugging
sucks
is a
for
better
Trickster.
option now.
Yeah, it is. Like this current Trickster is pretty much a slug bot, I think, at this point.
yeah, I'd be slugging when I'm playing Juan.
Yeah,
Kinda like
slugging will
doing
come in
that.
later too. We do have the slugging as well,
Like I think
because I realize that's pretty strong on him.
I think if you're doing the slug playstyle, like it's so weird because there's so many different playstyles with this killer. If you're slugging, his gen pressure is great. If you're not slugging, his gen pressure sucks. I think, or like you
Yeah,
have to like
'cause,
leverage a proxy in some way, whether it be through
Oh, yeah.
slugging or
And
through.
that's something.
Yeah, it is
Yeah, that's
something. It
like-
is.
It's above average.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say so.
slugging,
Yeah,
like-
in that context with slugging involved,
But-
and yeah,
But
I'm
the
thinking
slugging.
from the context of like a like you can't play like a hook based like you can't play a
Killer.
purely hook based playstyle with this killer, I think.
No,
Yeah,
you
because
can't.
it gives you downtime. You picking up the survivor, putting them on a hook, going to reload. Like that's
Would you
Sure.
say?
free time for the survivors, basically.
Would you say he's amongst the best sluggers in the game?
That's a hard one. I think he's
Very
there?
above average. No.
I think he's
would
above
say
average.
He has
So he's
low
above average, but
cooldowns.
he's not amongst like the best.
I think
for
that's an easy 2.5.
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Because like
Yeah.
you have no cooldown basically if you down, and especially like even if the survivor picks up, if you have main event, you can still
You just down them again.
down
Main
both
event
of
can
them.
save infinite ammo. If they go and pick up in your face, you main event and kill both of them.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
no ammo spent, by the way. So it's like you lose main event efficiency for hooking.
okay.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, you
this-
lose main
that's-
event uptime for hooking, which is horrible because it cuts your ammo efficiency, it cuts your lethality, it cuts everything if you don't like slug in a lot of ground six.
So it sounds like his 1v4 pressure is more coming from slugging and then snowball, right?
Yeah.
And then the other methods are kind of the one where he lacks in that 1v4 for the most part, and it's more the chase potential. Okay.
And I think that lethality and that snowball and that slugging is what creates gen pressure. Like there's no killers. There's very few killers that get gen pressure, quote unquote, by just like using their power on the gens. Like that's very few killers, and I feel like realistically, like the gen pressure you get just by being as lethal as he is extremely above average.
Okay, thank you for rewording that, because I do feel like Trickster, like his power does not do anything directly to the gens, so
yeah, that's something I realized. Yeah, because I think direct gen pressure is different than gen pressure, because like everything we're talking about is affecting gen pressure, which is more or less 1v4, right? We're just trying to hold the whole
he gets
team.
his gen pressure from other means, which is
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good change. I appreciate you guys like kind of that. I think that's a positive change. Okay, so would you say his snowball is amongst the best? Because as an outside viewer, it seems like his snowball potential is quite good.
I wouldn't say it's the best by any means. I think that it's definitely worse than Billy's and Nurse's for sure.
If you had
I feel like
if you had higher ammo, it would be a yes. But the fact that this killer has like really
I feel like
shit
main
ammo
event
efficiency,
timer being so short is also
main event timer being shorter, laceration depleting faster, and just depleting in general, and the fact that like if you have low ammo, you have to reload, so you just lose out on the snowball.
Yeah, he has to go for reloads. He'll get caught on some tiles that he shouldn't be getting caught on for extended periods of time. Like
that's the only thing keeping him from being a 3. It's just like having to reload and having time limited.
Or just having one add-on that makes it so you shoot forever.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that makes a ton of sense. So when it comes to side objective, this typically means like the box for Pyramid Head or Pinhead, sorry, or pig traps for pig, right? Obviously Trickster doesn't have anything like that, but I'm curious, and I'm wondering if you guys agree. I feel he should be a -1 since he has to do the locker reload. It's a side objective for him.
Yep.
Yeah, which gives the survivors more 1v4 time. So am I on the right path, giving him a -1 there as well?
I would say so.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that, but that does make sense.
Not just that, if he messes up his main event, he loses time efficiency.
Yeah, he loses
because he has to
everything.
invest his time to getting main event, and so if he fucks up his main event, he goes into a 5-second fatigue where he can't throw knives, and he's like in a slowed down state for like half a second. So
it's one of the reasons why death throws when he was 4.4 was so good, is because it would eliminate literally like 2/3 of his downtime.
Yep.
Which is going to the locker and reloading.
Okay.
And then,
So-
you know.
So, okay, that makes a lot. Yeah, because that's the big downside. Is he's got a really good 1v1, but it kind of impacts him in the 1v4, having to do all that reloading. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about his map pressure? How good is he at impacting different areas of the map at the same time,
at the same time,
It exists.
or just multiple area, or affecting a large portion of the map, right outside of his just?
I need
chain?
like a little bit of elaborating, like
It's-
more detail for the question to understand.
So ideally,
like directly, right? Like the gen pressure thing where it's like direct.
kind of, right? Like, how do I explain that? Hag, right, can impact like a quarter of the map or so with a web of traps, or Trapper. They can impact the entire map.
I mean, I would say Trickster's presence in one area of the map is dangerous enough. So it's
Yeah.
like, if everyone is there,
Just
you almost win the game.
I have
Because they're not
a
split
couple
up.
clips where like
That makes sense.
Mhm.
it all comes back to like proxying again, to be honest, because it's like when you have like multiple people. Okay, sorry. Average killer is gonna want to like defend their hook very closely because obviously they don't have that much range, and usually the average killer cannot deal with multiple people at once. That's very typical for every killer. They have a hit cooldown, it's long, and they slow down a lot. Trickster doesn't have that. You can just proxy a hook from a good distance, snipe people from multiple angles who are coming for it, and keep them away. And then by the time they actually do go in for like an attempted double save, they're fucked because you've charged main event. you've hit them several times probably. You have main event up. You're just gonna down whoever procs the unhook. Anyone who has to like come to you is like in a dangerous position already because there's how much map you can cover and how quickly you can switch targets and stuff like that and just be hitting people in different areas. Like I think he's just above average on that alone, because just by being a range killer pretty much and as fast as he is.
As I would say, if you're going for hooks, you're basically just shooting yourself in the foot. So
Yeah,
anything
Not
that's
necessarily think
not
you're shooting
nice.
yourself in the foot, but it's like if you have a good hook position, then you should go for that hook position for
Yeah.
the stage. The
Well, yeah,
proxy.
the game is-
Depends, I would say, a lot.
Like obviously
If,
you don't
like,
just pick up every hook and like I'm gonna proxy this fucking area in the corner.
because like sometimes if survivors make you pick up the survivor, it's a rotation for them. Like they can either get out of an area or go reset.
I'd say like
Easier.
25% of your hooks end up
Yeah.
being more valuable than just leaving them on the floor and pressuring immediately onto a group of people that
Yeah.
are out of position.
Yeah,
That's just
fair.
regarding the map pressure, because like I do
Like-
feel like you hooking is okay, but it depends if it's, as you said, an area. If everyone is in that area, that is dangerous for the survivors. But I would say if you're hooking when everyone's there, they can leave the area, split up, and then okay, one is on the objective, the other one is going for the save or being stealthy. And
Yeah.
How much,
So-
and this is slightly off question, but I'm just kind of curious. Have you guys noticed the new hook timers impacting?
Every
a lot?
single game.
That's kinda what
hate
I
the setting
figured.
Egg change this dude. It's such a horrible change.
It is
I-
an extra problem for Trickster because he already suffered from low hook efficiency. And so now, I don't know how you play this character without slugging. Genuinely. Like against
No,
good
I-
players,
Like
I don't know what the fuck, like what am I supposed to
I-
do?
I think Trickster has the luxury of choosing like, okay,
His playstyle.
here's a down that's not like gonna benefit me if I hook, so I'll just leave them on the floor, and then like he goes and downs someone else because he just pretty much instantly put that person on the floor and is now somewhere else on a different chase, and then he's like, okay, if I have like basement here, now we're cooking. Okay, I've got someone on the floor that needs to be picked up, and I have time to put this person in the basement or like on the bitch hook on the hill. W. Like we're cooking. Like that's map pressure. That's how you create map pressure, I think. And it's like you just being able to like down someone that far and that fast, like
It's all on the back of his
It's-
chase pressure though, which is like it makes it really hard to like put into a separated thing because his like genuinely if he didn't have like his chase, he wouldn't have map pressure. So it's like
Yeah.
like he's very very all in on his map pressure chaos, and if that chaos falls out of sync for one moment, you could lose everything.
just like how
I
I lost
guess-
everything in the casino.
I would say for me, I don't know, like I'm trying to find a playstyle that is more chase driven and kind of like a soft tunnel thing, if that makes sense, where it's like I go between 3 survivors and the 4th one is just like the last scrim stack and that's it.
I mean, yeah, at this
Um,
point in Dead by Daylight, I don't think, outside of like bad teams, if you have a solid team that is really well coordinated and they know how to play against a killer, I don't think going for 12 hooks is all that reasonable. And I say that as somebody who for over a year exclusively did 12 hooking games and played without any repeated hooks. But I just don't think that's quite possible in the modern game right now. So
yeah,
that-
I don't feel like
valid.
anything like rewards the killer enough, like a perk or like a base kit thing. But maybe, as Rev said this in the past, maybe this will result in either stats or something where like devs will realize that killers need something base kit that will, like, how do I
Yeah.
say, incentivize killers to actually go for hooks, for chases, than to, you know,
I just
Be
want
the bad
them
boy in
base
the
kit
lobby.
fire up.
I just want them
Well,
to
I mean-
finally I just want them to finally incentivize like hooking, and instead of like they keep punishing tunneling and they keep punishing slugging and they keep punishing all these things, and like yeah, let me rephrase. They keep rewarding slugging, they keep punishing hooking, and it's not direct punishes. Like you can tell that the
No.
reason that they're making these changes is for problems that aren't what they think is gonna happen. But I think it's time they start rewarding, like, hooking in some respect. And I understand, I respect the 70-second hook timer. I get the intention of it. I understand they don't want people to die on hook. They don't want people to go to second early. I get it. But you need to give something back to killers so that they don't just start leaving people on the floor and bleeding everybody out, because that's not what people want either.
No, and it's a rough space because I mean I think you even talked to me about it on Twitter, right? Like there really isn't much reason to hook, and I mean you covered it, right? You got guaranteed flashbangs if you place them in the killer's body. You got super fast sabo.
Yeah.
You got they're literally just numerous options. But even in chase, you got dead hard. You got so many second chance perks, so many chase extenders, and then you follow that up with those hook denial options. It really does like keep incentivizing slugging and then just trying to like progress hook states by keeping them on the hook versus chasing them again.
Yeah.
Like, I'll mention this. Let's say for me, my favorite perk as killer was always pain res, right? And I loved the infinite one. But then recently I've entered this discussion, which to me was interesting, was because like everyone, let's say at the time was like, when eruption was there, pain res is unhealthy because you tunnel, right? And then someone gave the idea, if let's say with pain res, if you get someone out of the game, the perk turns off. So basically, the more you keep the survivors in the game, the longer you have that extra instant 15%. But now with the 20% on a fresh hook, doesn't mean much to me. To me, the momentum of constantly doing it, and I would like honestly trade the if you tunnel someone out, the perk doesn't work anymore. I would hope for something like that, because I don't know if it's that hard to program, where it's like if you use a perk that's healthy for tunneling to get someone out of the game, that perk stops working.
I think every perk,
No, I agree.
every hook that doesn't kill a player should give a sizable reward.
Yes.
I thought it was crazy people wanted pain res removed, myself, because it perfectly like incentivizes you not to tunnel and spread hooks, and I always thought that was like great. Like that's what everybody wants. And so the idea people wanted it gone, always surprising, because I too loved it for that same reason.
Yeah. Because I think any change.
Dying Light Thana.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, Dying Light Thana is really good for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thana less so, but Dying Light, yes.
But I would say Dying Light is kind of like a perk where like you already won the game and now you're getting like this very massive buff, but
Yeah,
you already
epic.
won it.
Yeah.
I love tunneling someone out and
wow.
getting 9% perma slowdown. It's awesome. And then like anytime they go to body block, they get like an extra 2%. It's a goated. I love Dying Light Thana.
Like, I don't know, it's
Like, why would I run pain res when I can just hardcore tunnel out and get pressure off like people body blocking and being outro stick?
In terms of like how the perk works, I'm on board with it. I don't run it personally because I think the perk is like kind of weak, but in terms of like the what it's doing for the game, I think is good.
Yeah, I agree. It does feel weak though. It does feel anemic.
like I feel like the
a lot of
healthiest
killer
change that they
perks feel
did
like that, I think,
for-
right now.
Like, I feel like the healthiest change they did for killers was the removing of gen tapping, where the survivors would just tap
my
the
God,
gen,
yeah.
and like to me that's a game changer because
literally, it took them fucking,
actually
like, how
commitment.
many years to do that? Like 8.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, kicking gen still isn't worth it. Like just dry kicking them, but yeah, that alone was a huge difference,
You have
and
to
it
be
changed
smart
the game
about when you
completely.
dry kick a gen. That's really like.
Yeah, I
kicking
mean,
gens can be worth it. It's just like you don't want to sacrifice like a chase for it. But,
Yeah.
like,
well, yeah, and
again,
if
when
you know
you're,
they're
when
not
you're
gonna be in that
proxying,
area.
when you're slugging, when you're defending an area, and you just have like, all right, I'll just kick this gen, pick up, hook, and then I'm creating so much pressure from that.
I wish dry kicks were more like a budget, you know, where you had so many allocated, and if you use them incorrectly, like using them to like instead of chasing, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Then
that's
eventually you'd
fucking
run out of them. And they are high value when you use them, but if you run out of the pool that you have access to, then like you're kind of fish out of water because you mismanage your resources. I think that would be a cool system, but like for some reason they have the limit at 8, which makes it so that's not a resource. Unless you have perks that will eat that timer up, you're not gonna kick a single gen 8 times.
No,
Especially not as
yeah.
Trickster.
The only time I've ever had that happen is when I like ran like Surge, and they just like kept staying in the same area, and it wasn't even a gen they were like messing with all that much.
Like if I kick a gen 8 times as Trickster, the game's over. Like I can't even get to 8 kicks before like that gen's done.
Yeah.
I did once, but I was running like Pain Res Pop and then Eruption, so it's basically
Oh yeah.
regression from Pain Res and then from Pop Eruption that's extra 2. So it's like, I just kind of wish Eruption wasn't 2 regressions.
Yeah,
Although
that's
it is
real.
what it is.
I agree. Guys, I kind of hate to like. I love going off track, but can we keep this back on track? I'm kind of starving to death over here.
No, you're good. You're
Let's
good.
get this man some food.
Okay, zoning. So he's obviously got zoning potential. A lot of killers do. We'll cover the distance. I'm assuming it's a 2. Obviously, you can do it
2.
probably better than others. Yeah.
Like
But
you
no.
press M2 and the survivor is zoned magically.
How about the speed at which you can pull up the zoning? This might be when we take
okay.
away 2. I'm not sure. You tell me.
The speed at which you can pull up the zoning is
0.2
best
seconds.
in the game. It's 0.35.
Is it point? I thought it was 0.2.
It's 0.35 and then 0.3 for the throw, so it's like technically like 0.6, but that's like among the best in the game for like just, you know, you zoning. I mean, obviously Xenomorph is like 4 because he just zoned by walking.
Is
but,
that
like,
incorrect on the wiki? Sorry,
Is it
keep
incorrect
going.
on the
I'm just
wiki?
gonna check. Go, keep going.
No. The wiki has like so much wrong information, at least on my killers, so I would not be surprised. And
Wait,
what's
so
punished?
punishment
So-
on missing?
Yeah. So
among
let's
best in
say.
the game.
So like. How much did like just say you try to zone them, and because you zoned him and you didn't actually take the hit, or something, and they made distance? How punishing is that to him, or is it punishing at all?
Depends
not
on
really
how
that
far
punishing.
you are from the survivor.
It depends on how badly you need that specific person, like injured or down. Like if you need that person down and you fuck up, sorry, too bad. But it's like if you don't need a down like so soon or like so immediately, you don't need a health state. There's basically no punishment. You're gaining something even.
Yeah,
like if
yeah,
you hit
sure,
them, you get main event.
So it's
You're
not like
moving them somewhere
Dracula
else.
where he
You might
pulls
get a
up
pallet.
fire and it like slows him down, bringing it up and then bringing it back down, right? And he
Yeah,
could pretty
Trickster
much-
barely loses distance, so it's like he can pretty much just eat through it.
You ideally want to
kinda
do it
goes
on
back-
corners when you're doubling back anyway. So you're already losing distance on the double back. So it's like losing distance, yes, but it's losing less distance because it's off of a smaller number because you're already doubling back typically.
Okay,
Like
I'll
the
put it at a
punishment
3. It
on-
seems like it's really not all that punishing to attempt to zone them.
It's punishing enough to
it-
incentivize a playstyle that is more
Yeah.
like jumpy as opposed
Let's say
to
the
just being a punishment flat out.
Like
It's an
his-
incentivization. It's a guideline.
His game design is entirely based on like not being punished that much for missing, and he's encouraging you like to go.
His
for as many
punishment is
shots as you
basically
can.
going for reloads. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's like
And reloading
if
is
you
more
if you
1v4.
maintain 50 to 60% accuracy, you're basically successful as a main, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
I'm just so sad
But
to think
that
about
punishment on
it.
missing is it ties to the resource denial basically. So even if you miss, if you manage to deny resource like for them to efficiently go towards it, where they make the most amount of distance by either vaulting or dropping. So yeah, it's basically a 3, I would say.
It's
Okay.
just so sad to think that like new Trickster, you maintain like 50 to 60% accuracy, you get like 2 health states.
Yep.
2 health states of ammo. That's it.
I mean, yes, but like with main event, it's 4, or even more.
Or
depending
more
on
if you have Tequila Moonrock and Waiting for You Watch and your main event never ends until the whole team's dead.
To be fair, I've literally never been in a situation where like a longer main event would help me. I don't know if that's just me, but I'm never in those situations.
I just get so greedy. I just get greedy with them, and usually it works out. I just
I
get
would
greedy as
say-
fuck.
You get greedy and you get survivors who are just as greedy. Like, oh,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
just
there's a
gonna,
lot
like,
of greedy
feed
survivors.
your
Even
vibes,
like even when I'm on like a 16-game win streak, I don't know why, but survivors are still greedy as hell. Like they will just try to play the 1v1, and it's like you can't play the 1v1 against Trickster if he's main eventing and pinning you down to a tile with an infinite main event. You're eventually going to get mowed down.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's an eventuality, not
Yeah.
a if.
For me, I guess I don't like run the extender add-ons except sometimes watch because I like to combine it with death throws. But I would say I'm kind of like practicing with Memento, kind of like make up for the quote-unquote the extra stuff that you would get from Tequila or Watch. So it's kind of like my aesthetic right now is to kind of tag Tequila as the old shoes, where it's like Tequila gives you something for free, even though you kind of played bad. So like, for those of you who know about the shoes meme, where you're basically just like a huntress, just holding your knives, and like denying yourself learning how Trickster works, or just like
that's only
being
true.
rewarded for.
That's only true in the 1v1. If you get multiple, if you have the ability to make your main event go into a different survivor after already downing a survivor, that main event Tequila duration cannot be gained from something else. So it's not purely just giving you something for free. It's something you have to make use of.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, it replaces the S tier combo because the S tier combo gives you 3 seconds, while Tequila gives you 3.6.
Right, but like
so
base
it's
kit,
like
base kit already replaces that because you don't play for the combo ever, even without main event duration.
I do understand that, but what I'm trying to say, it's Tequila just rewards you even if you get an E combo or not a combo at all. So it's like it gives you a main event that could potentially just help you mow down everyone, even though you just had poor accuracy or poor knife management. So that's why I kind of like, for my personal playstyle, I try to avoid at least Tequila. I do run Watch sometimes, but I'm trying, as Zozo says, to make up for it in the base kit length with Memento Blades to kind of like see if I could make the most value out of it. So Memento shoes, like I'm trying to run that. It's more like aesthetic for me to try to, within such a little time frame, get maximum value.
No, that makes sense.
I just think it cuts down on your zoning quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, okay. So would we say still 3 then, or do you want me to push it down to a 2?
3.
3? Okay. Well, that brings us. That'll move us to utility, which should go a little bit faster because it's a little bit more cut and dry.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff he just doesn't have showed.
Yeah, stealth is mostly gonna be a 0. However,
-1.
If I'm not mistaken,
Lullaby.
he has. Doesn't he have He's got the lullaby, right?
Lullaby, reload, and fatigue as well.
And not to mention, just like hitting someone makes a very loud sound and doesn't hit them, so it's like, what the fuck? It's like they'll just be looking around like, where did that come from? And then they'll find you and like, oh, okay, I'll just start running now.
The more you play the character properly is the more that you make it obvious where you are on the map.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put 1 on the activation sound for the reload. He doesn't really get a stealth sound when he pops into stealth because it's not really a thing. I put a -1 for his terror radius / lullaby. And then visibility, I think he's just as visible as most killers.
Yeah. Well, are we factoring in stealth perks? Because he's really, really not easy to spot if you're like undetectable. But the lullaby kind of counteracts that, so it's like.
Yeah,
I would say the lullaby kind of puts you in this thing where like, oh, you know he's there, but do you know where he is? So it depends on the map, basically.
It also depends on the skin you're running, because if you're running a neon yellow skin, like people are gonna spot you even if you're undetectable.
His visibility was actually a little bad just because of the neon, right? Because ideally when I put visibility here, I'm thinking of like Chucky, Wolf Form, Ghostface, Xeno a little bit, where they can either blend in or they have like a lower profile, or Onryo with like passive phasing.
What do we go based on his default skin?
Do you think his how big of a difference do you think his skins make?
There's only like 2 skins. There's only like 2 skins that are like actually like very, very like not
the black
bright.
one?
Like the black one and the military coat, and like all the other ones have very bright.
I would say if it's only 2 cosmetics out of like his a lot, I probably won't count it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably.
Do you think
the animation
like
he like? Yeah.
Do you think him throwing knives helps give away his location?
Yes.
And would add to his negative visibility? Okay. For that alone, I'll put a -1.
And his main eventing, because he'll just start firing off knives from random direction.
Okay.
And trick blades.
And trick blades too is so bad for that.
All right. How about mobility?
0.
Speed.
Oof.
Just a 1.
Add 1.
Yeah, just
one for in case you run photo card.
He doesn't have a speed ability, so the frequency and duration don't really mean anything. They're not applicable here.
Yeah.
Information. He doesn't really get killer instinct or passive information, does he? Unless there's something I'm missing.
No, he doesn't. But the direct info he gets is actually quite interesting. When you hit someone with a knife, especially if you hit someone with a knife through a wall, the sound they make from getting hit with the collision will follow them. If you like hit them and max out their laceration meter to 7, that little sound to like what? Like that follows them like accurately, and you can track it and find them.
Yeah, for like 0.75 seconds or something like that, so you can tell which direction they're going.
Yeah, and then you can just like pretty easily line yourself up for a shot without like any type of like aura reading or anything. So like that's something. But
I
it's
want
like
them to increase the duration of that.
I'll give it like a 1 for passive information then, if that seems accurate.
Yeah, it's like something like that.
It's something small, but it exists.
Yeah.
All
it
right,
doesn't come up all that often.
Now this
like
one will be a
I
little
do too.
interesting. I know probably all, if not at least most of you guys have probably already done tier lists for his add-ons perks. I just want to count
for myself. I haven't yet, so. But yeah,
I think Rev specifically has one on their Twitch page, if I'm not mistaken.
I know Vasek made one, and I mostly agree with it. Like it's pretty baller.
Me and Vasek came together on the Otsdarva add-on tier list, so his is our Otsdarva's on his website is a combination of mine and Vasek's opinion.
Okay, so
I
can.
think Vasek made a new one. I think recently. I think he changed his mind about because after the new chapters, I think he changed some things a little bit.
Have any of you guys ever done a perk tier list for him?
I have
not.
I have.
Oh wait, did you ask about add-on tier list first? Because I have done an add-on tier list.
Yes, I specifically, at least for this one, the best way to get objective about his add-ons and perks is just count the ones that have high synergy, mid synergy, or no synergy, like they don't work with him, and then just take the numbers of perks and add-ons, and I feel like that's the cleanest way to break those down. So this is one I can come back to later. We don't have to go over because it's straight numbers. But if you guys have resources that you've already created, I can go over those. Or if you already see them in front of you, like Rev's got one that has like an S and an A, so I'd assume those are all high synergy, right, on their tier list. The B is probably like mid synergy, so like rarely works would be low synergy, along with
I think the way we do is based on consistency. So I'm not sure. Like, let's say an add-on can be like a very high, but it doesn't go very well with others if it's like an A. Some A add-ons like don't go well with others. Or B. I don't know. I guess it depends on the opinion.
I think for add-ons, consistency makes more sense than synergy.
Yeah.
And if we want to go consistency, Memento Blades S.
Yep.
It's the only one that you just have literally not a single reason to ever take off under any circumstance. There's no reason to not run a Memento Blades.
Memento Blades is the only one of high consistency?
I would say so. Just compared to his other add-ons, there's no reason to take Memento Blades off.
It is absolutely, undeniably the most consistent add-on, like without a doubt. However, if you are not slugging, then... Or if you are slugging, I think main event duration add-ons get close, but not. They don't break that extra ledge. Like Memento is absolutely.
I'd rather just throw faster.
Memento is absolutely far, and even with slugging, I think Memento is better. But there is some circumstances where double main event duration can get close, but like it's not as consistent. That's the issue.
So. Let's start from the bottom. That might be easier than trying to work from the top. How many add-ons of his would you say have absolutely no consistency, are actively terrible?
Oh my god.
Or just shouldn't be run? If you could just give me a number, because
we have Soda, Autograph, every duplicate.
1 second, I have a little.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at your
1,
the one
2,
on your
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 add-ons that should just not be ran.
Okay, so that's 10 with no consistency.
That's 10 add-ons that shouldn't be ran. You have one that is a hard lock, like, you should not take this add-on off. So then the other 9 you just have to guess like which one of these goes the best with Memento
Would you-
Blades.
Would you say those 9 are all of the same consistency?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm not looking
I
for
feel
like the
every
best one.
okay,
'Cause,
so
like-
Let me just
Oh,
link this.
how do I say this? Trickster had this spark for him where like each add-on would change his playstyle, and now that most of them are similar, they're kind of like not worth the slot. But some of these add-ons that are inconsistent, I would say, to a degree, can change his playstyle. It's just kind of like it doesn't benefit you at all.
So I would. So like, if we go by the one that Rev just shared, right?
I would
you
put
say
Memento-
that A and B are like mid consistency, and everything in S would be the high
A and-
consistency?
A and B
I
for
need a
Trickster. A and it's in the group chat. A and B for me, I just put it A and B just as convenience because it's like, you know, sequential order. But the power drop between these add-ons, like that A is actually B, and that B is actually like D.
Okay,
Because-
so I'll put-
Wait. Can you repeat that? A is actually what?
A is actually B, and B is actually D. Because, like, DTC, BOA, and Melodious Murder, yes, they get some form of efficiency. They're absolutely, like, more noticeable than not running base kit. But you can overcome pretty much all of the benefits of these add-ons by simply playing more efficiently.
So would you
Shoes-
say B? Oh, go on. Sorry.
Shoes and
No,
diamond
go on.
cufflinks, they do get value outside of just playing more efficiently. However, sometimes they require you to just simply play in a way that is riskier. I think shoes does get you value even without risk, but yeah,
Shoes
they're
kinda,
just
like,
not massive
makes
value.
So is
Makes
shoes
you
the
learn
cutoff
Trickster in a
of-
different way.
So
Yeah.
would you say
Makes sense.
shoes would be the cutoff of like high consistency at that point?
Yeah, I think shoes. I think if I looked at this tier list again, I'd probably move shoes up to A. Like shoes up to
Okay.
S tier, move Memento up to S plus, and then all 5
Like
photocard, trick blades, tequila, watch, and shoes are about similar.
Okay.
like how to explain? Shoes is one add-on that like it's so hard unless you're very experienced to notice what's the difference between having them and not having them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like where is that specific extra knife or two? Let's say I've experienced that if I run Memento and shoes, that let's say 1 extra second or 2 of seeing the survivor in main event, that's maybe like 12 blades extra of hitting them because I see them more. Or in base kit shooting, it's extra 7 knives. Or you know.
If I was
6.
win streaking,
Yeah.
I would only run Memento paired with shoes, watch, tequila, trick blades, or photocard.
Okay. That helps. Okay, so he's got 6 of like relatively high consistency. He's got another 6 of about mid, and then he's got 10 horrible ones.
Yeah, 10
That's
ones
kinda
that
where-
you're almost never going to notice the value of.
So I'll- okay.
Edge has
Oh.
some niche applications, but I don't.
Edge
think
has like some
that
form
it's-
of like, how do I say, niche playstyle where you want to express your
It requires you to give up value
skill
in chase
expression.
in order to get main events onto people that are full health
Or
by
like,
intentionally missing.
I do feel like Edge kind of like makes you. How do I say? I don't want to say like it improves your trickster skill, but like at the same time, when you experience this trickster, like managing to actually purposefully miss those 2 blades on purpose to deny yourself the main event is not
Right.
always easy because like once you're used to hitting all your knives,
You don't
when you
really-
need to miss, you might actually hit the knife and not get the value of the add-on.
You also have to do
So
it on
it's
a
like-
player that is weaker than other players, because against a player that's strong, you're going to want the main event typically.
That
So
makes
you
sense.
want to intentionally do it on a player that's not super good, because that otherwise you're not going to guarantee you gain more value from the main event subsequently than you do from just downing this player.
Yeah. Let's
So-
say single, I would say that add-on is a main event farmer, so it's like the moment's on body blocks, but I would say it's the one add-on that's like if you want to go for that not Mr. Nice Guy playstyle where you want to get main event in 4 knives instead of 8, if body blocking the Deathlock Survivor. So instead of 8, you go 4 knives, boom, main event them. And if you have trick blades with that, it's gonna be hard to miss them.
But in general play, Edge of Revival
Yeah.
is terrible.
Okay, that's good to know.
No.
All right. The next one is his available playstyles. For like, and by playstyles I mean like, can he bring perks to have like a stealth playstyle? Can he work around like a haste style play where he's got a lot of haste perks, hex perks, gen kicking, vault perks, stuff like that? Like those kind of playstyles. Like, what are some examples of stuff that kind of works? Or is there really any of those at all? Or does he just have to kind of like focus in on his one game plan?
I think
He has
is
so much variety.
there's a
too
good
much.
amount with perks. I can think of like some evil ones. You have like the tunneling playstyle, camping playstyle, slugging playstyle. I can concoct some fucking evil builds for that alone. There's like wall hack playstyle. There's like just pure like chase efficiency playstyle.
Snowball
There's
info.
stealth because I mean, like, while he does have a lullaby, like his lullaby is reactive based on how close it is to his tear radius. So if you run like
Right.
plaything, his lullaby is almost inaudible, even if you're in it.
Interesting.
Even if it's visible, like Trickster also gets more value from showing up on you when you're caught out of position. So you can run like plaything on him and get extra value out of plaything, but plaything's not necessarily the best perk on him. It's just fun.
He has one too many playstyles. That's like
So
how
he's
he's
got-
always been. It's just now he has too
He's
many
less.
add-ons that are like.
He used to have so much
His
more.
add-on
duplicates.
variety is bad now.
Yeah.
Like he used to
So-
have add-ons that played in your playstyle. Now you have memento blades.
And that's it.
That's it.
It's just that they made it so before you had 2 add-ons. That's like throw rate speed. Now it's into 1.
I'll give him a 3 for overall play style then, because he's got a
Yeah.
lot of different ways he can be played. Awesome.
Yeah, like I would say, like to play this killer,
Honestly,
it's not to think
like-
about wins. It's to enjoy yourselves, because he has character. He has a lot of. He had, let's say, but he has somewhat the audio feedback of your performance, and I don't know. He has a
I
lot
don't
of
know,
Easter eggs.
I didn't
So-
mention it, but I also think the kind of playstyle where you have like photo card and you just like run up on someone with haste and hit them with an M1 with like Stabiffle is not a meme. Like I think it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
The fact
Oh,
that you
yeah,
knock off, you hit them with 7 with the haste M1 recover, and then you hit them with 4 knives and they're on the floor.
You can do it with
That's
rapid
goated.
too.
I don't really see
rapid,
why you
photo
want to do it
card.
with rapid, but like it's not bad.
I like
can
doing
see that.
rapid into like 1, 2, 3 with a photo card, and then you drop your knife state and you're running at like 125 and like fly at them with coup. It's so funny.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
That's funny.
he's-
There's a lot of different ways you can play them. I mean, it's
Although
not
I will
someone-
say maybe this rework kind of did make it so you couldn't add
It's a
an
little more
extra
linear.
layer, which is the M1 playstyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So maps.
Oof.
How many? This is another one kind of like add-ons. I don't know if you guys have already done a tier list. If not, I can move on past this one and kind of like circle back if there's resources. I mostly not like each. Like I don't want
Add-ons
to
are
keep like.
very. How do I say? Some maps like you can mitigate the issues with add-ons, and others if you have bamboozle. So it depends on where you're going, I guess.
I think the
I
consistent
actually-
thing is if people can consistently stealth against you when you're patrolling, it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
playstyle you're playing, you are fucked if you want to spread pressure. like
Rats.
stealthing
Stealth
against
is
this killer
so
is so
bro.
annoying. I hate stealth when people stealth against him. It's
Yeah, you
so
literally
annoying.
just heard me give survivors tummy time for hiding for 10 minutes, like when we joined.
Yeah, you can't find anybody with this killer,
Yeah,
and they can just
that's-
hide early because you have a lullaby.
I love whispers. I love whispers.
I also love
Whispers has
whispers.
become one of my favorite perks as well.
I love the bird perk with the crows.
Spies too, yeah.
Yeah, Spies is good.
Spies, I would love. I fucking hate big, obnoxious pop-ups that block my aim, though. That's literally the only thing keeping me from running it, seriously. I give it a try, but it just got in my way more times than it helped.
I'd
It
rather
pisses me
make
off.
the survivor scream than make the freaking thing.
I will run whispers and monitor because I miss the old tear radius so much that I will run monitor just to get a semblance of the old Terradius. Because the old Terradius wasn't OP. It was just fun because it gave you the survivors a question of whether they're going in your direction or not. But now the lullaby goes away immediately after it appears, so you know that they're coming in your direction.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move past because I want to get like exact numbers on exactly how many maps he kind of struggles with versus others. So I'll go look at some of the resources you and some of the other Trickster mains have had and kind of like put that together then.
I mean, Batham maps. Ugh.
Well, yeah, that's every killer. Yeah. Oh, we need. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if-
Vatham, Toba landing.
Toba is just annoying for knife
Here,
usage at
let's-
all.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me pull up all the different maps. I'll pull up variations.
I did a copy of the thing just to like write down the amount of like maps I think are like bad synergy and like mid synergy.
Oh, perfect. That's exact. Go for it.
Yeah, I trust Zo's assessment on that.
I put number of high synergy maps at 19.
Are you counting individual like
individual
like, are you counting
variations
too?
Yeah, variations.
Okay.
I just went in customs and it was like this map. Yep.
Oop.
Not like whole realm. I did number of mid synergy maps as 18, and number of no synergy maps at 16. And you want to know what those no synergy maps are? It's like all the ones that are terrible for every killer. It's like Badham, fucking Asylum, Gideon Meat Plant, and like shit like that. Like there wasn't that many maps that I think are like particularly awful for Trickster. Yeah.
16. So that gives him 21. Okay. Okay, his early game. So we got setup time, which is typically like Hag setting up traps or Trapper setting up his traps. Pinhead looking for the box at the start of match. I don't imagine Trickster's got a lot of any setup time, unless I'm
No.
mistaken.
It
So I'll
doesn't.
just leave that
Nothing
like,
without
blank.
perks, so no.
Yeah. Survivors don't really have a setup time. They don't really have to do anything. Don't have to go do
Free
quick
run.
trap. Yeah.
Joking.
Does Trickster have anything that can help prevent that like early 2-gen pop at the beginning of the game? You know, where you're like, you'll chase a survivor on a like efficient team and just 2 gens will typically pop within the first chase, even if it's quick.
Corrupt intervention. That's about it.
Well, not as a perk, like out of his base kit, more or less.
His base kit, the way you prevent a 2 to 3 gen
Memento.
pop. Yeah, you have memento plates.
So he does actually have something then, though.
You just down someone, you get your first down, which isn't gonna take you
That's
that
why
long.
Memento is so good.
You have to down early. Like, you have to.
So would you say he has an easier time preventing that early 2-gen pop than most killers?
Not preventing
Yeah.
it, but, like, getting value before it happens. I mean...
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put him at a 2 then.
Yeah, it's above average. And like the time to first down is also above average. It's just like
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
quick.
like if you slap on lethal, like you can basically.
Yeah, first down
It's
agi
all-
into active gens. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool. Easy. All right, end game. This is where I think we should get some interesting conversation. Gate securement. How good is he at watching both gates and kind of monitoring them on most maps?
Decent, just like above average.
He can scout.
You don't even have to hold knives, but like once you do see someone, you can just pull them up and start fucking throwing away.
Yeah.
Just,
There's a lot of
Okay.
maps where you can, like, kind of orbital from one gate to the other, but it's not always going to be there. But sometimes it's a thing.
It's enough to
Yeah.
like push them off the gate.
and
Well,
of course,
I mean,
it's
If
like
they don't
yeah,
get off the
well,
gate, they
yeah.
die because you don't
Yeah.
have any recoil anymore, so you can't, like...
So yeah, better than
be
2, but
inaccurate.
he's not like jumping between them instantly like a blight. Seems fair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or like
Something
2
like
seems pretty good.
He'll just aim his laser
Um,
pointer
Discovery,
across the map.
nothing.
Hatch discovery, I think he's just the same as most killers.
yeah, just an average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A 1.
Okay, now hook camp. Securing that last hook.
Easy.
This
You
is
can't
be
unhook
like
in
the
front
one
of this
time I want to
killer.
put a 4.
Yeah.
Like,
Put
like
a 4.
a
Put a
3.
4. I don't even think you can beat. I don't even think you can beat Trickster's camping, even if you're Bubba. Like, this killer is fucking insane at, like, camping.
I know who
Without
can be
us,
Trickster's
though.
camping. You can be Hillbilly.
Oh, true.
You can just get overdrive while camping.
I'll put a 3 plus
Because
1.
they work
I'll sit and see if we're like. We'll put 3. We'll keep it consistent.
Yeah, 3 is good.
All right, so I kind of break those back down. So camping, he can't really insta down. Well, would you consider in a camping scenario where you're camping a hook?
That's an
I
instant
have like
down.
scenarios, but like it's.
I think that's a 3.
If you have
just
any
you're
main
hook
event
camping.
add-on at all, you don't just get an insta down on the unhooker. You get an insta down on the person that's getting unhooked.
So you
You don't
get
even
to
need an
actually-
add-on.
You don't need it,
Okay,
but it makes it a lot
I
more
can
consistent.
say, I guess, like a couple of ways. I don't know.
Okay, so he could. We also covered he can injure multiple, right? And that's pretty consistent. That when somebody goes for an unhook, you can injure like multiple people there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say that's 3.
You're taking the health state of the survivor if they're healthy, like as they get the unhook. If they're down, if they're injured getting the unhook, they'll just go down, and then you can just, chase the person who just got off the hook and down them like pretty easily. That's like an insta down, pretty much.
Okay.
Because like
How about-
you gotta count, like even if you don't proc the survivor's base kit BT, you can still hit them while it's active. You can just hit them and then wait, and then once it's over, they're done. Like they're dead.
Oh, seems fair.
Yeah,
How about
I have, like many
interrupting the
ways.
unhook? Like you're
You can't interrupt because they set Trickster's time to kill always higher than 1 second, which is the unhook animation speed.
That I will say this, like it's one of my personal beliefs is why they reworked them to like get away from this like interrupt
And they
on hook
failed.
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
they made
so
it
I'll put it
worse
as like a
somehow.
0. He can still
Since,
swing at everyone, but no different than any other killer.
Before, like you could like slap on, let's say, soda autograph. It makes you go faster into 4 knives a second. But if you make the survivor panic, you could basically take both health states. If you 5-knife them, and as they start the animation, cancel them and make them panic even for like a half a second, they're already down the second health state and unhook is prevented. And in main event, you were basically doing a health state a second, so nobody's unhooking in front of you.
Yeah.
So in a way, I do feel like it's one of the reasons he got reworked.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I could
You
see
know,
it.
I think it's just
They-
speculation. I think like talking to the person that designed him, I don't think that was the reason.
I just think they wanted to like personally throw stones at me to death. Like they reworked my fucking Borgo to be dog shit. Then they passed the second stone, they killed my fucking killer. And then they added a double fuck you and made Borgo's lighting like fucking horrible. You can't see like 15 feet away from you. It's
I'm
actually
surprised
one of the
more
worst
people
maps in the
don't
game.
complain about that. Because, like, Borgo, you can stealth on Borgo so easily most of the time now.
That was like the whole
Survivor?
appeal of the map before was the visibility. It's like I can't see scratch marks, but who cares? I can see the survivor. And now it's like they made it so like the opposite. It's like I can see scratch marks, but it's like, oh, is that scratch marks or is that like one of the several like on fire burning buildings? Like I can't fucking tell the difference anymore.
Dude, every
And then
time
it's
they
like, I can't see the
release
survivor.
a new map, ranged killers get nerfed in some indirect way.
Okay, so I will add to that. Like I originally took a break from Trickster before the rework and then came back. I don't know, that was my second break. Maps were one of the reasons why I had an issue as Trickster, because like they slowly started adding anti-Trickster loops
Yes.
on many maps.
Yeah,
They
like
did
let's
that
say
to Borgo.
And also
Every
adding
every
diagonal
tile in
plates
Borgo.
to shacks, so you can't fucking trick blades the walls anymore.
Right. It's like,
adding anything
oh,
that you
really?
get stuck on, and let's say even like let's say one of the loops that I disliked the most, like before, remember how Wrecker's Yard had like basically nothing on the edges? Yeah, like they made so many tiles or whatever rock loops where like it's like
Fillers.
it's
I
like
hate
why, but it's like so anti M2 because it's so
Yeah.
short that
They-
you have to M1, and then that like garbage can whatever the long loop, like
They
basically
did that to
by the
Trickster,
time.
like all around Borgo. Like that whole map was like every single thing on that map you could shoot through, you could shoot over. The tiles were low. There was so much visibility. Even if you couldn't see the survivor, you could actually hit over the thing like just enough. Then they reworked it, and then they were like, "Oh, we were sick of these fucking tiles that were like so short that killers would stub their toe on it. So then let's like make everything a huge fucking like 5-foot wall that the survivor can see over, but you can't, and you can't hit over it,
Yeah.
and you can't hit under it, and you can't hit
They
through
also
it."
do
And
an
they added,
Well, yeah.
They added
Gorgo
glass
used
to all the
be-
broken windows, so you can't hit through them anymore.
There's-
I fucking hate that map.
There's
now.
also
It's
a
fucking
bunch
so
of
bad.
AI like collision paths they did on a lot of these maps where like invisible walls would just exist where they no longer existed. And I know people didn't put those there
Carpity.
intentionally. You know why? Because that same thing happened to Macmillan back when they AI collision passed
Yeah.
it. It is all by accident, but they don't go back and fix it after they have their AI go and like gloss over it. It makes no sense.
Remember when they sealed up the fucking back window and front, like, secondary window on Macmillan
Oh my
Shack
god,
for, like,
Mac Shack.
8 months?
8
I
That map
mean,
was
months.
unplayable.
Oh.
But now it's like,
I mean,
they
any
fixed it
main
and it's
building that
playable
had
again.
gaps basically on Macmillan.
Anybody
Yeah,
who
pretty
knows
much.
like anything worth their salt on Trickster knows that Shack, if it doesn't have openings in it, is like one of the worst tiles for him. Like it is so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
That's a big
Even-
reason why Toba Landing is so bad. It literally is like completely sealed up. It's thick. You
You
can't
get
see
stuck
through it
on
at all.
stuff. It's like has some
Mhm.
random.
Interesting.
Horrible.
I mean,
Fucking,
now you
uh,
have
the-
RPD East Wing, that fucking metal piece on the helicopter, where like you cannot shoot above because it's a wall.
The 2D
Even though you see
picture
the
of the
survivor.
tarp on the windows is actually a collision. The 2D texture of a tarp that's like, hey, there's a vault here. It blocks the fucking knives.
Shout out to
Bro.
every 1v1 I do against Zozo. I run around Shack 7 times.
Literally, to be fair though, the only reason that worked was because I didn't know that's what you were doing. I was like, oh, is your channel
Yeah,
window?
but it's
Nope.
really good. Just like if I had
No, that
gens
would
running,
not have worked if I knew that's what you were doing.
Well,
I
that's
didn't
why
know
it's a
that's what you
good
were doing until I
mix-up.
watched the VOD.
that's why it's a good mix up. If you fall behind at all, like it gains value, which is really good.
Interesting. So when going against Trickster, abuse Shack. Got it.
Abuse long tiles that restrain his options.
Just make it so like you die like after a bit of extra time. So don't just die. Make sure that every second is wasted.
Oh
extra.
yeah. I mean, one of my favorite videos ever is I think it was Spooky Loops, and he was playing Legion against a comp team, and they were fucking vaulting pallets, so he couldn't even break them.
Yep.
Like he would go to break, and they'd vault into him and back over and fuck over him, even trying to break the pallets. They used
Yep.
his own deadlock against him.
Yep.
I think sometimes people underestimate what survivors are capable of, but there's those few
lot.
teams that like you can do insane stuff.
If you go against a comp team that's mastered playing against your character, there's not a lot you can do regardless of what character you're doing. I mean, like if
Yeah.
you're obviously like I'm saying this in the context of the killer also not being a comp player, and that is kind of a loaded sentence, but if you're just like a random solo queue killer that's like been playing the killer for the longest time, you don't know how fucking terrifying like a comp team
No.
is that masters playing against your killer. It is
Say,
Awful.
I mean, at the highest level of the game, I mean, survivors are regularly getting out, and they have heavy restrictions where the killers don't
right.
as much. So at the very top level, I think survivors kind of have the edge. It's more everywhere underneath where killers kind of take advantage.
Have people
It's a knowledge game.
edge mapping you and dropping every pallet they can that's safe. Like
Yo, edge
No.
mapping? Edge mapping? What about goon mapping? What if when they're goon mapping?
goon mapping?
Then
Goon
I'm-
mapping?
Whoa.
Yeah, you
I
don't
will say
go
be
that?
careful when it comes to Trickster. Like maybe before forcing locker was a better option. Now it's like you give
awful.
him a pocket in main event.
You should only hop locker if you're injured and he's in main event and you have no other option. Because at least you're wasting his time.
You should only
Yeah.
hop blocker. if you're,
Because
like,
if he hits a DS and you're
Oh no, sorry.
7-9,
Sorry. You need to be
that.
healthy with him popping main event.
Yeah,
I
you need to be
apologize.
healthy.
I misspoke. If you're healthy and he pops main event, you're saving multiple health states. If you're injured and you hop blocker against him,
you're just wasting.
he
tiny
cancels
bit of
main
time.
event and he hits you anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
So
sense.
you're trying to preserve health states when you hop a locker, and you can only do that if you're healthy.
Yeah.
I love how.
But I would say
fucking
in general, like if
strong
he's
blockers
using
are.
base knives, go down to the base knife and not like hop blocker.
Gotcha.
So you don't give him a pocket in main event.
All right. So that brings us to the last section, which should be kind of interesting. And you guys might have counterplay options that I've never thought of, but I pretty much want to go over like some of the typical counterplay that survivors use against killer and see how effective they are. So like hold W, right? How effective is that? Does that hurt him more than other killers or less?
I think it's
We'll
incremental
just
to
kinda go
playing. It's incremental to playing against him.
Increment. What do you mean?
It's or maybe that's not the right word. It's like holding W is baked into playing against Trickster. You have to be constantly looking for an opportunity to jump the tile and go to the next tile.
Maybe let me rephrase it. This might be a better way to.
You need to constantly be looking for an opportunity to disconnect from the game.
How weak is he to these options? I think that's probably a better way. So, to holding W, how weak and susceptible is he to that? Even though it is baked in, like how much does that mess him up?
Like not
if
more
he
than the
zones
average killer.
you, if you even like, he can still zone you if you hold W.
It's very
kinda,
tile
something like
based.
that. Yeah.
I think it's his like ability to deal with people holding W is mildly above average, decently above average.
Like on an
Like
indoor
maybe
map.
2.
So he's not hurt by it nearly as much as other people.
Yeah, like a fucking. You know how long like a trapper like 1v1 is when people just.
Well, no,
run?
he doesn't slow down, so he can basically back row you.
Yeah.
So
How about
So like Trickster at least has an option.
Yeah, because these will all be negatives, right? So like hold W is really good against a Chucks, right? Because then they have to either walk at you at 110, or they use their power and then they have to wait for it to the 10-second cooldown, right? So hold W is one of his best options. So he'd get a -3. This is a whole negative section. So here I'll give him a +1 since he can actually kind of counter it. How about pre-dropping? Like pre-dropping pallets, does that work well against him or?
You have to be so far that it's almost like thanks for the pallet. So like you have to be so far that like you won't be getting hit. So,
Depends on the
depends on the tile. If it's a tile that's unsafe for you, it can help.
Mhm.
But if it's already safe, greeting is better.
You need to drop the pallet when he doesn't have line of sight and you haven't been hit like at all.
Pre-dropping
Like,
God pallets is incredible against him though.
yeah, it's incredible against any killer to be fair though.
No, yeah, but
I
like
mean-
what I'm saying is like that has to be taken into consideration. Like he is absolutely like he loses a lot from that because
I do feel like if you
because-
pre-drop when you're injured is more impactful than when you're healthy, because if
Yeah.
you're healthy, he leaves chase. If you're injured, it makes the chase more like it's like a commitment issue. It's like, oh, I thought it was gonna be easier, but it's not. So it's like
You need the angle to drop the pallet, and like even then, like Trickster can just play dropped pallets most of the time. Like there's a good amount of shacks where like, the downed pallet doesn't even fucking matter. It's just like a benefit to him. Like Macmillan shack is perfect for Trickster. It's just completely unsafe from every angle.
Interesting.
But like you really like if you want to drop a pallet, you need to be low lacerations. So the Trickster needs to like either be just starting chase, not in chase, or messing up really bad. And you need an angle to drop it at where he can't see you. Because if you drop a pallet and he's right behind you, you're just gonna get pelted with 4 knives. Like it doesn't really.
or it needs to put a sizable distance gain onto the Trickster. That's the
Or it needs to be like a
alternative.
guaranteed break. Like it needs to be a pallet he can't play.
Yeah, it has to be a pallet he has to break.
I'll put him as a +1. It sounds like he can actually deal with pre-drop a lot better, and there's some corner cases where it hurts him, but more or less.
I mean,
it's
in a
pretty
way,
weak option.
depends on like if he makes you stay at the loop. If he makes you stay, then like it's to his benefit. But if you use that to leave, and then you're fine. But if like the Trickster's kind of like, okay, I'll make you vault it, go back, and it's like knife by knife, knife by knife.
Like
and
if it's like a jungle gym, like pre-dropping that is sometimes great.
But it depends on how many knives he has in you, basically, as we said before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jungle gyms are perfect to drop.
Yeah.
Because pretty much any way you drop it, you'll have like a pretty safe angle.
Yep.
Unless it's like the Azarovs or like auto haven one that has the fucking cap that he can just shoot through.
Yeah.
Okay. So it seems like in some corner cases it's a good option, like at jungle gyms.
Yeah,
and...
but it's not
As we
perfectly.
said, as
You
we said,
generally wanna
he's
leave it.
Generally,
Twitchy
if
killer. So if he manages to do a mind game,
Yeah.
like, each
So but it
knife
seems
is
like
gonna
if he
eat you.
wants to play around the pre-drop, he has the option to do so.
somewhat yes.
Okay.
Because if you make a like even like a second, like a mistake for like a second, that's basically almost half a laceration in you.
Okay.
So yeah.
How bad is it for Trickster when they decide to completely split up across the map?
Terrible.
Very bad.
Terrible.
I want to go first. I think early game it's awful, but once you get like your first down, comes back to this again. Get your first down. Not that difficult. but like you can force situations where multiple people have to group up. Like I said,
It's just
double saves need to happen,
stealthing
or
is
else
a thing.
yeah, stealthing exists, but it's like also like
Yeah, stealthing's a whole other one in there.
as long as you're just like paying a lot of attention and like really playing into like you're down and trying to get people to group up and show themselves, you can force those grouping up situations. So it's not like he has like nothing versus splitting up. Like he just has like a very slight like thing he can do, where just like forcing people to group up to either get an unhook or like pick someone up off the floor. And then once they're grouped up, he can, main event or just down them.
But outside of the situation where they are grouped up, splitting up really does hurt him quite a bit, right?
It does.
Yeah.
That's why you have to force
Mhm.
people to group up, because he gets such a high benefit from people grouping up. And as
most killers would dream of having survivors group up, because it's just like you just have so much more efficiency when you have multiple people in chase. But it's like Trickster can indeed force that situation, whereas like other killers can't. But that's not like amazing. Splitting up is still definitely the way to go, like broadly.
I'll give
he
him
just has to play around it.
I'll give him a -2 over a -3 because you said he does have that option to kind of force them to group up.
Yeah,
and then he takes such good advantage. So I'll put a -2 there for that one. Take away power. I guess like they can kind of stun you out of main event.
Kind of,
How often
not
are they
realistic.
How about they really don't have too much say in making you lose your having to reload, especially a good trickster, right?
It's like
'Cause we're
only
talking
head
about
on.
15.
That's like it.
I don't know how to say, but like, there's this one thing where like it's very annoying, and that is when you body block a survivor, but you're using your knives, and even though like you're basically in a scenario where you should be in a good situation, the moment you take the health state, even though usually survivors will run past you, if they stun you and then leave, even though you perfectly like put yourself in a position where you should shred them, that buys so much time for them, which is crazy. So
Yeah, I have a body block section at the bottom there because some killers don't care at all, and then other killers, it sounds like Trickster probably definitely get hindered by it.
Champion of Light Fixated can also in niche scenarios do very well against him, but again, that's a perk combo.
I remember
Yeah,
we were like
I'll put a
1v1ing,
zero.
and
I fucking
that out. You were
trolled.
like,
I trolled.
you were like, "Are you ready to deal with the most annoying thing in this game?" And then I just
Yeah, I talked myself up. But anyway, that was not great. But I do think that it does still have application in some scenarios.
Okay, I'll put a -1 there since it does happen. But it's not like an Oni where you can deny them getting their whole power by just like denying the first hit or take Xeno out of their power.
A lot of it's in the
nothing like
Trickster's
that.
hands to mess up.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because this is on the survivor side, not so much the Trickster side. How prone and weak is he to most windows in the game on average? Like not just God windows, but like just windows on average.
most
How hard
windows,
is
like a -1. Like they're pretty safe, but it requires the survivor to like really lock the fuck in. Like there's a reason why like fucking like Eternal and shit. Like whenever they see a Trickster when they're win streaking, they're like, all right, everyone lock in. It's because like this killer can very much deny certain windows just by existing. Like,
yeah,
even with a space
no,
cat.
they're all scared of Trickster. That's just kind of funny.
I'd say there's a
Right.
reason. There's a very big reason why you'll see Vasek not win streak without Bamboozle.
Okay,
Like
so I'll
he's
put
running without Bamboozle right now, but Bamboozle is like Trickster's bread and butter. At least on the EU, like without it, like you're. Nah.
Like he's very.
Is it similar
he's very,
to Leatherface where
Yes,
like that's
He's basically a ranged Leatherface in almost every aspect.
Yeah.
so would
That's
we
why
put
even
-3 where if you don't have Bamboozle you're kind of screwed against a smart team?
If it's a smart team, sure, but if it's solo queue, then like
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to go into solo queue too much because
Against a smart
Like I
team,
said-
I would feel like a fish out of water without Bamboozle against like a really coordinated team.
okay, yeah, because solo queue is impossible to align for, and it doesn't really matter because a lot of
Unless
what-
you're slugging. You don't need to have Bamboozle if you're slugging. Like,
that's
Yeah,
Like-
the average
like-
window in this game is very strong though. Like the
Yeah.
fucking gas station in Gas Heaven, the shack window, which is on like pretty much every map, every single tile on Bad Him Preschool.
Like
they're pretty
even
strong windows, but,
LNT
like,
walls sometimes against Trickster, if you play them super well, oof, even if you have
especially on
Bamboozle, you
certain
can be
maps that
fucked.
have like very thick
Well,
or very long
yeah.
TNLs, like they
Ugh.
suck. But just like the average window, not that bad. Like, I mean, you're pretty much always doing something. If you win a mind game, you'll get something out of it, which is more than I can say for the average killer. So I think his window weakness is like a -1. Like, he's above average in terms of like being able to play the windows, but like most of the time, if you're like really just wanting to win, you'll just want to like shut them down like fast.
I just think he's so bent on having a good chase against good teams that the windows that will fuck you over, you need to have a solution against. And I think that is absolutely worth mentioning.
I'll keep it at a -3 just because we are talking about like a not a comp team, but like a knowledgeable team.
Yeah.
Competent team. All right.
Although to be fair, like they're still kind of learning against Trickster, making mistakes.
Yeah, the competent teams right now don't know how to play against Trickster. I will say that because there's just not a lot of Tricksters. Yeah,
that he has that rarely played benefit.
There's only like, even amongst us, like Vasek is like the only Trickster that's even gotten close to his win streak.
Now just wait till my Flan streak hits the scene.
As far as I'm aware, maybe I'm wrong. NJ, you probably know more about this than I do, but like.
Well, no, I think when I was looking at like the win streak Discord, I
only know one person that has like 60, but.
Yeah, but Vasek got like 200 and something.
Although I will say like back then the survivors didn't get so many basic benefits and all the killer regression nerfs and everything. Like,
yeah, it's hard. Then, like, are hard to quantify across time for that very reason.
Plus, it was 3 seconds back then. Like,
that's true, but regardless of like that, my point is that like Trickster has a very, very high skill cap even in his current state. And I don't think that it's very easy to quantify survivors need a consistent variable to learn how to play against the killer with. If there's only one Trickster in the world that has gotten up to that level, or like, like you can't always scrim against that one player, and that's obviously a sliding scale, and there's not just Vasek, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, that's
like fine. if you get used to one playstyle, the other one will shred you. So it's
okay. How about stealth? We talked a little bit about rats earlier.
It's so strong.
Okay.
Because
he doesn't really have a tool to find people. If he loses that chase, I kind of imagined it would be a -3.
The only tool that you can use to find is if a random trick blade bounces off something.
If Trickster's walking around the map doing nothing, like for more than like 20 seconds, I fear that game is over.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give him a -3 to stealth. It seems like the average palette, not including god palettes, because those are strong against pretty much everybody, but the average palette seems like he's more or less pretty good at, because he can just pretty much hit over it if he wants to get the kill, not if he's like changes his mind, but if he wants to pursue. How weak is the palette?
He is more of a back rev, or should I call him a chase oriented? So he's like less scared of like eating a pallet and just breathing down your neck, because he just basically doesn't slow down like before.
It's kind of like Huntress, where you use the pallet as a last resort. You don't use it initially.
I'll give him a +1 then, because it seems like most killers are going to kind of have to deal with the pallet a lot of times.
Yeah.
It seems like he can kind of like.
You can play most pallets, even the really strong ones. You can find a workaround.
Yeah.
It's kind of an ego thing, but you can do it.
Okay.
I mean, like the pallet is your power of position, so position power. So basically, you're trying to deny the survivor getting to it before losing your health state. So yeah.
By the way, people telling me this killer is like one of the worst design killers in the game, and look how much we've been yapping about this fucking killer.
Yeah, I've been doing that for 10 months.
If this killer was poorly designed, would we have this much to say? I don't think so.
There's some poorly designed things in Dead by Daylight. I'm not gonna like lie about that, but the amount of times people say X killer is poorly designed, X killer has no diversity, no skill cap, is fucking wild. Because I've talked to many mains at this point now, trying to get this all set up, and even just like setting it up has turned into like 1 to 2 hour conversations, and I think that just shows there's more depth than most people realize.
If someone that doesn't actually like take the time to play against a killer, but wants to have a massive ego like conversation about how a killer has no depth, and they're not willing to have a conversation like with actual substance more than 20 minutes, they're just complaining to sate their ego.
Shout out to the guy when I was doing a fucking night daily, and he just kept camping pallets, so I just kept breaking them with card effects. And he was like, "Man, fucking night just like takes no skill, no depth. Like, what do you even do against this killer? Bro, you got a 1v1.
Yeah, it's a very cope throwaway
1v1 man, a killer that takes
sentence.
skill.
I think a lot.
I wish I made a video from this, but I had like one match as Trickster where I versed, I don't know, Survivor, and he just said that, oh, Trickster only takes aim, no skill. And he didn't have all kill chapter at all at the time, and I was like, okay,
Well, that was
I buy
funny.
you the chapter, I watch you play Trickster, and we went into customs, and after 3-4 games, he changed his mind.
He scrimmed against.
His
He
words.
scrimmed against our. He scrimmed against one of the Trickster community teams, and then Vasek scrimmed against that same team, and the difference was stark. Like absolutely stark.
Oh yeah, no, I have now purchased the Chucky chapter for 6 individuals that have told me that he takes no skill to
You couldn't
play.
pay me to buy that chapter. I haven't even
Dude.
bought it once.
I mean, opinions aside, it just the fact that people will find a killer and just say that there's no counterplay, and then you could play against them for loops because you know that killer, just shows that there are options. Just a lot of people turn their ears off towards hearing it.
I just wish I was better at versing Blight. I just can't with that killer. He's so fast.
I can't play against Clown. I can't lie to you.
It's so funny you say that. Clown's my like bitter weakness too. I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do, and that's on me. I'm not saying like there is no counterplay. I just personally don't know.
I can't play against Oni.
Oni either. Okay, so
I hate 185.
I can
I
play
love-
against Oni, I just don't want to. I can play against Huntress, I just don't want to.
I will say I love killers that like kind of like a counterplay is greediness. I do not like being a pre-drop Andy. I want to be, if I drop that pallet, it's a 50-50 if I stun that killer.
Yeah,
That's it.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I'm
I like
not,
pallets
like,
being a
dropping-
resource that is used as a budget instead of like just always using them instantly.
I
It's
agree
kind
with
of
you.
like like dragging an NPC in a, I don't know, single player
But I
game.
think-
It's like do a task here, do a task here. It's like come here, like Like,
I think that's a difference though. I've noticed killer mains really enjoy other killers that like have unique things you have to work through in chase, like different ways to loop. But most
Yeah.
survivor mains like the killers that you can loop the same way over and over, like it's just
I mean,
good
it's
strong loops.
I would say it's one of the reasons why everyone loved Bubba is because he was the most M1, M2-ish killer because he goes with the chainsaw, but he follows you as if he's an M1 killer.
Yeah.
And if he bumps into something, he fucks up, but like
I just think
he's
checklist
basically
killers, like checklist counterplay that doesn't have mix-up is really boring. It
Yeah.
always results in the same thing, and if it doesn't
Yeah.
result in the same thing, you messed up.
No, I agree with you. All right, so how prone is Trickster to body blocking?
-4.
No, I don't think so.
I would say
If you have
The
main
only
event
body blocks
add-ons,
that work
this
against
dude
Trickster-
fucking destroys everybody.
Mhm.
the only time.
Oh, sorry,
body
this is on
blocks are
Survivor.
good-
This is the
Oh, so
Survivor
it's like a
perspective.
+1.
Yeah. So if a survivor, let's say you're playing Trickster, a survivor,
Oh wait,
He's
I'm
going to
looking
body
at it
block?
wrong. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, this is all negative. So how we're just trying to see how good these strategies are when used against Trickster, more or less. So how good, like if the survivors want to
Oh.
body block,
No.
how strong
Yeah,
is that against him?
Never body
The only
block this
body,
killer.
the only body blocks that work
situational
against this
body
killer
blocks.
is like blocking a door. That's the only thing that works,
Oh,
and even
yes.
then, it doesn't work that much because you can get like you're giving him main event, you're giving him like no cooldown because he'll just take your health state, walk through you, and go back to whoever he was chasing. So like you didn't really waste that much of his time. And like like I said, that's literally only when you're blocking a door. That's the only time this
And
killer
also-
can be body blocked.
Even then, it comes up like maybe once a game, if that. So it's like there's some circumstances where it does come up, but most of the time, especially if everyone's grouped up, it's only to allow your team to get distance to spread out. Because if you're
Oh.
not, if they're not using your body block usefully, then the same circumstance is just going to happen. It's just going to happen a half second later. If they don't
Oh,
split
right.
up after utilizing that body block, they are all gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Like I
Other-
can say in a way, it's like the body blocking has to be synchronized with using a resource. So it's like, let's say you
Yeah.
body block a doorway, a palletway. So it's like, not only do you take a health state, but you also need to waste a resource. So if with the body block you can deny them the down, and let's say you tunneling whoever, like one of their friends. So it's like it needs to be super organized to be effective.
And also, like, you're banking on them not having, like, watch. If they have watch, that body block helped him.
Yeah, it's kind of the thought process I had. So I'll give him a +1 because it seems like in very unique scenarios it might be helpful, but even then it's like very minuscule how much help it is.
I
But more
thought of
often
one
than
other
not,
situation.
on.
When you're getting an unhook and he's like a little bit far away, you can use the person that you're unhooking as a meat shield to protect you from getting hit while you're unhooking. That is the only other time I can think. It's like you can just
unless
hide
he
behind
like
the
perfect
unhook
frames like shoots on the side of the
Yeah, but that's
survivor,
so,
but it's so hard.
It's so hard to do. It barely works. Unless you have shatter blades, in which case you can do that. But it's
You can do it with cut through too.
Yeah.
That's one
what
use
else?
that cut through has. But besides
How
that,
about-
it's,
But yeah,
killers specific. Is there like anything specific to Trickster that other killers don't have to deal with that is a good counterplay to him?
Check. I know check spots are very common, but the fact that you can like vault a window and then just hold the check spot, watch him, and then make distance will pretty much always result in like you losing some lacerations.
self-preservation triggers on every individual knife instead of when you lose a health state.
What's
Goated.
Goated.
Huh.
Yunjin has a counter perk for Trickster. Use it. You're never gonna see enough Tricksters for it to matter.
Wait, so I counterplay the other killers don't have?
But if four
so-
people had self-preservation, I would DC.
Like, for example, Trapper, you can go and undo all his traps, right? That's unique counterplay to a Trapper. Is there anything like that for Trickster I might not be aware of?
Hopping locker during main event while healthy is like kind of unique to him, and like I said,
that's
like
one.
check spotting just to lose your lacerations is counterplay. that's
Avoiding
unique to
window
Trickster.
vaults with your post-hit.
I
movement
mean, it
speed.
used to be like with the laceration, if you would to walk or stand still, you would
Yeah, that used to be a thing.
burn
They
faster.
They just nerfed it without saying anything. Oops, sorry guys.
budgeting your post-hit movement speed is huge and doesn't come up like it's not as important to do on a lot of killers because you can just play tiles against them, but with Trickster, eventually if you're holding to a tile, you're going to run out of time. So getting like always utilizing that post-hit movement speed to get to a better tile if you have the option to, or a better resource, is very important in the counterplay.
Interesting. So I'll give him like a -1 then, because there's like some options, but there's nothing like.
It's like
It's not like
it's emphasizing the base features that survivors
Yeah.
gain access to.
Gotcha. Yeah, nothing.
Which is peak
Nothing that's
killer
specific to
design.
I
It
mean,
is
I
peak, it
guess
is
you
peak.
can bait main event with Shrimp Burst, but it's like very situational.
Yeah.
That's also
Is there-
perk dependent, which is why we probably aren't going to put self-preservation in there, even though I love that perk.
I'm trying to think.
Those are all the counterplay options I can think of with most killers. If you guys have any other ones, there's probably some out there. I just can't think of any. Those are the ones I had. So holding W, pre-dropping, splitting up, denying power, which he kind of has.
You want to play the 4v1 against this character as much as you possibly can before he forces your hand.
Yeah.
Kinda.
It's
yeah.
kind of like
That's
Oni.
what I'm seeing, like the stealth, the split up,
Yeah.
the stuff that takes him out of chase.
It's kind of like
where he-
Oni, but instead of like depriving him of his power, you're trying to deprive Trickster of a
You're
everyone
just
showing up
trying
to the
increase
show.
his downtime.
You don't want everyone to show up to his show before it's too late. And that's
Interesting.
kind of lore. Miles.
No, that makes sense. All right. Well, that's actually. Actually, we missed one question. His tunneling. How well is he suited to tunneling?
He's
Like,
insane at
when I say
tunneling.
tunneling,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean,
mean,
he has
like-
this one thing where like if you hop locker, your laceration doesn't go away, and if you DS him, he has basically 10 seconds to down you.
Yeah, make him if you're getting tunneled, don't and you have laceration in you, don't hop locker to force DS. Because
Drop down.
there's a clip that Zozo has of
Also,
someone
don't get him once and don't use plot twist.
Yeah, there's a clip of that Zozo has of a person reaching 7 lacerations and then plot twisting with DS. The person DS Zozo, and then Zozo just threw one knife and downed him
I'll just post it in the
So
chat. This
funny.
video goes hard.
because it
It
maintains
was so
laceration.
toxic, but it was so fun.
I think
I
it's,
was sick of this
Yeah.
bitch.
it's
I'll
so
I'll
good.
include that in the video right here. I'll plug that one clip in.
Yes.
That'll be pretty good.
I would say when it comes to tunneling, I feel like he tries on survivors trying to go for the maximum amount of distance instead of effective distance, whereas like they just run forward instead of like dodging and stuff. So
If you early unhook against this character instead of using hook timers as a resource, you're going to be in for a bad time because he has a consistent chase.
yeah,
Because he will just use his
He-
consistent chase to set a timer on how long that person is going to die before they get tunneled out. If he sees it as an option, of course.
Right.
Like, you can slug all 3 other survivors and then always have tabs on one person to tunnel.
So I'll put it at 3. It seems like if he really wants to hard tunnel somebody out, he's pretty much got it.
Yes.
Yeah, you're not gonna if
Well,
if Trickster wants you dead in the match, you're going to die in the match.
like let's say for body blocks, he basically can shoot over any survivor that's body blocking, unless the survivor literally runs into his FOV, like where to the point where the Trickster like is literally sniffing the survivor. Like he can literally shoot above the survivor's models because the knife falls down. So even if they try to body block, he can either shoot through the gaps, where because I think the hitbox is kind of like linear around the legs, and for the head, if he shoots above them, the knife starts falling and it hits the survivor behind. So
That's
basically,
I don't know if that's
it's crazy.
consistent though, NJ. Like, I feel like that's kind of inhuman. To
I mean-
consistently land like a full string of knives above a survivor's head that is body blocking onto the person
mean-
that they're body blocking for.
It happens, like
Yeah,
test
for
it
sure,
out.
but not
It's crazy.
consistently, right?
Once you get the hang of it, it's crazy.
Okay.
All right. I'll leave it at a 3 because it seems like if you want to tunnel somebody, like it's going to happen, and there's not much the survivors can do to.
Yeah, it's an
Then that-
eventuality. It might not result in you winning the game, and maybe that's what we should be gauging it on instead of just his ability to kill someone out. But I don't know. He's
I would say like
it's,
if he wants to tunnel, he needs to already like proxy. He already needs to be territorial because
he has to make
let's
use of
say-
slugging, tunneling, and proxying in some respect in order to have a fair match compared to the rest of the
Those
roster.
are all things
Let's
we've
say- let's
said
say,
he's
yeah.
like excels at, right?
Yes, yes.
The proxying. So it seems like if it takes those things, he will have to focus on it. But I mean, we're kind of rating it on if they want to go for the tunnel, not if it just like passively happens. And it
Yeah.
seems like if he wants to, it's gonna happen.
let's say he still has this thing, but it's like very niche-ish to do. If you mid-unhook animation, you take a health state from the unhooker, the survivor that's coming off the hook, he basically can be damaged while he's in the animation of being taken off the hook. Still, it's just that they made it so now you have to down the unhooker first.
Oh.
So if he's all up for the tunneling, if he manages to down the survivor who's unhooking mid the animation, the survivor coming off the hook can immediately be damaged even before they can run away.
You also create a longer timer to tunnel if you are camping, and which you usually will, because you're downing someone, so you have to pull they have to pull another survivor to go and pick up the person that's slugged. Otherwise, you're creating a slug situation. So it's a wedge slotted between slugging and tunneling where they have a timer to pick up the slug, and if they go and pick up the slug, they're giving this Trickster more time to tunnel. And if they don't go and pick up the slug, they're giving the Trickster the option to four slug.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well, that's actually my last question. So what I will
Wait,
say.
did we skip on something or?
Nope, that was it. That was the counterplay section. So I had the killer specific, the body block, and that encapsulates the entire.
Do you mind if I say something?
No, I was actually gonna leave the floor to you guys. To like go ahead and spread some information about Trickster, playing him, stuff you want people to know. Hashtag Revert Trickster, all that kind of stuff.
Hashtag Revert Trickster.
Hashtag shave Revvium bald.
That too.
But yeah, it looks. But yeah. So, anything you guys want to
Hashtag
plug in?
give us a high skill ceiling add-on, please.
I'm gonna drive my car
Yeah.
through Zozo's house.
And with that, I think we gave Trickster an overall score of course, it's 69.
Wait, is it? Is? That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Awesome.
W.
There's
Well,
no better killer for that to be.
There is not. No, perfect. It all adds up, makes sense. I love it. All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me for so long. I think we've been doing this for, I think we're over 2 hours now. So I appreciate you guys giving me so much of your time and going into this project. If there's anything you guys want from me, feel free to message me about it. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys like the video I put out about it. Anything else I can do for you guys?
You can see Zozo and their Revert
yes.
videos on YouTube. Please go check out Zozo's, specifically the case studies. And also, you can find me on Twitch, Revvium. You can find NJ on Twitch, NJ_. But if you ever want to learn anything about Trickster, like, reach out. There's a big Trickster community that, like, we would all love to have you.
It's growing.
Yeah, there's a growing Trickster community, and it's all because of this absolutely dog-ass rework.
And me.
And Zozo, and NJ, and
Of course,
me, and
oh,
Vasek,
yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, we're all one.
I do want to thank everybody from the Trickster community, especially you guys, just, like, for making all of it possible, though. I remember there was only like like me and Dowsy that played Trickster, and then it was like nobody else did.
Dude, I
showed up
I
very
didn't know
late.
the DBD community. Like, I didn't interact with anyone on Twitter, YouTube. I didn't watch anything about the game. I just played Trickster for like 2 years. I was like, oh, does nobody else play this guy? Like, why does everyone say he's bad? Like, and then, you know, of course,
I mean, on Twitch,
I
we
was-
had like 3 English content creators, maybe 2, you know, Korean, Japanese, and that
I
was
was-
it.
Didn't
Too
you
little,
start
too
playing
late.
Trickster because you ran it against me in solo queue, and then Vasek started playing Trickster because they watched you?
No, I started playing Trickster. My background story or lore, it was I saw him on the PlayStation Store, and I was like, bro, this design, like the way they drew the art, I was like, bro, this is awesome. But Rev, you are my first ever Trickster friend, and I was so sad that the game ended for you very quickly as a survivor. But luckily, I summed up the courage to actually join your stream and be like, hi.
Oh yeah, I was a
another
survivor in
Trickster.
your lobby. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was swiffing with my mod, and I'm in EU, but she's NA, and by chance we get you, and
I think I gave up on Hook.
I don't know. Yeah, it was like a very annoying killer that we went against. I forgot which one, but it was on Dead Dog, and you were somewhere near the that section where you have those hanged people. But yeah, I don't know. I just randomly clicked on your name. I don't know if you had something about Trickster, but I just remember seeing you had the Trickster, your original emote, or your VTuber where you're holding like a knife. And then I was like, yo, I'm not alone here.
I love the Trickster community.
Dude, I straight up thought everyone in the Trickster community hated my ass until like two or 3 months ago. Like, not
No,
2
we just
months, like,
disagreed, and we don't know how to
6 months
express our
ago.
opinions.
Yeah, I feel like regarding Trickster, we all take pleasure in our playstyles and our add-ons and everything, and like
Sometimes it gets
how do I
ahead
s-
of us, I think. And
I do feel
also,
like every Trickster main kind of like a little bit has a bit
little
of
bit
you know,
ego.
like that conf. Yeah.
Little
It's
ego.
like there's something about
No, just literal
their character.
autistics. Like, we love our killer, and like any other disagreement is like, no, not allowed.
True.
I mean, you are a trickster. You're supposed to trick people. So yeah, whether it's in
True.
game or you know,
Perfect.
you're not just gonna be a follower. You need to, how do I say, make a word for yourself.
Yeah, I was too little, too late to make my Trickster guide. I literally was like I was like gonna make one because all my friends were like, "How did you get so good at Trickster?" I was like, "Oh, I'll just like make a guide from these days." Trust. I didn't, and then they fucking reworked him to be awful.
Listen up, behavior. If you want people to actually play this character more, revert him so that all of us have a reason to make a guide collectively.
Yeah.
There you go.
I still
Yeah,
do want to
hopefully.
just make a counterplay guide just to shut up like that particular side of the games community
Yeah.
that just thinks like
I'm waiting for that
counterplay,
1
no
hour
skill
video,
killer.
Zozo.
Also,
I'm
Ghost.
waiting for that.
Ghost, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for
Yeah, of course.
bringing us all on and just like, yeah, it's been really fun.
No, I enjoyed this time with the Trickster Cabal. It was great. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for giving us a platform where to speak, and yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you guys the video before I put it out. You guys can comment on if there's anything you want me to change, but I really do appreciate it. I'm really, really excited to do this.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
I only wish you hope in the future for this series.
Aw. You too, and I hope we get that Trickster reverted. If we
Then
don't,
we can do it again.
yeah, we're doing it.
Yay!
We're making this video yearly until it's reverted. You heard it here first.
That's crazy.
All right, I'll let
I
you
hope
guys
it's not a
continue
year.
talking.
Yo.
I know
I gotta
things I shouldn't, so I won't say anything.
All right, I gotta go shower and get ready for my own stream, so I will let you guys continue. But have a good night. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, NJ.
Bye-bye.